My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only, and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is Ontario International Airport, rising in elevation over 325 West G Street. This is amplified audible activity, flight activity, and relevant positioning. And they are monitoring all night long, concentrating plane activity far from terminals 2 and 4, where the Ontario International Airport is located, where 2900 Airport Road, where planes are appropriately taking off from the airport and are not hovering over and rising in elevation at 325 West G Street. It is occurring in that specific environment, which is remaining where the Ontario International Airport, in concert with the City of Ontario, the Ontario Police are gang stalking me in concert with the City of Ontario and the people of the state that are maintaining relevant positioning with that airport. It is currently 5:14 a.m. The entity is engaging what is overnight gang stalking, meaning maintaining activity creation with the entity that's stalking with impossible light activity that's occurring on the wall while they cross paths in the environment, monitoring together, and they're doing so with regard to, so this is ongoing ceaseless gang stalking by the state and the people, and the entity is doing so by flying over by helicopter overnight as well. The entity doing so while monitoring me while I'm in the sleep state. This is what the entity, the state, is doing while it's engaged in ceaseless stalking, and this is in combination with the podcast documentation where the entity is gang stalking all night long as I arrive to the TABOR professional building, engaging in the pattern of conduct following from place to place, as my documentation is consistently showing this. This is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 5:15 a.m. on what is Sunday, June 22nd, 2025. This is P.O.C. All right, the video you just listened to is indicative of the ongoing overnight stalking, targeting by the entity, the people of the state, and the state acting directly using plane and helicopter overnight. The entity maintaining ongoing activity creation, the people of the state gang stalking by crossing path on foot, on skateboard, whatever it is that they're engaging in crossing a path while they're gang stalking overnight. They're monitoring me and stalking me. They're maintaining ongoing presence all around me while I'm at the TABOR professional building, and the entity maintaining ongoing audible activity while the people of the state are doing so. You have the multiple demons crossing path, gang stalking, playing music while they're walking in the engineer light monitoring. They're doing so while the entity is gang stalking by plane, just like you just listened to on video. Doing so with regard to the specific environment, which the people of the state are stalking in that environment intentionally, maintaining traffic. So this isn't with regard to the entity that is engaged in actually interested in going to a destination. The people of the state are patrolling around me. They're pacing all around me, which is with regard to what is, they are together stalking and maintaining ongoing surveillance where I remain here. They're doing that with the City of Ontario that's deviating from being anywhere near an airport, which is relevant to demonstrating stalking by the City of Ontario and using commercial planes in order to do it, while they are hovering necessarily to be over the house of 325 West G Street, where they're flying west, and that plane activity and in concert with the impossible light activity. Those are the elements of monitoring where the City of Ontario is gang stalking with the population, the people of the state. And the Ontario Police Department doing the same thing, following the videos that I captured overnight on June 21st, 2025. It's June 22nd now. And the entity is engaged in this conduct while I'm sleeping, flying over, gang stalking, harassing, interrupting sleep with regard to monitoring, and doing so in concert with the people of the state using both plane and helicopter. And the entity is doing so in concert with the people of the state that are engaging in the same elements of monitoring. So this is documentation showing what the entity is doing on an ongoing basis, following me from place to place as an entity, which is documented with the specific environment. The entity is following with the whole demonic environment. As I go from place to place and the fake sun remains over me, that is the evidence of the population stalking me from place to place. As I show you that supernatural environment, it's the same thing with the impossible light activity. It's not naturally occurring. That is the entity stalking from place to place with that supernatural environment. It is the entity engaging in surveillance where I remain inside of the venue of the library, inside of the venue of Starbucks, outside of the TABOR professional building. This is what the entity was doing at Woodside Senior Apartments. And inside of Tracy Banks's apartment, the entity was stalking with that environment while impossible light activity filled her apartment, while impossible light activity was covering the venue of Woodside Senior Apartments, while the fake sun remained over her apartment, which I documented from sunrise until sunset, and where the Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario Fire Department, and American Medical Response engaged in gang stalking at that apartment complex, which is fills the documentation, and it's specifically with Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police Department. This is the pattern of conduct of the entity stalking, that is following from place to place and remaining where I remain, ongoing criminal surveillance. What I want to note is the entity engages in also what is preparing the food that I purchase, what I buy from Starbucks, what I buy from 7-Eleven, and this is why I also document where I'm going, because everything that I am subject to is pursuant to that pattern of conduct. And this is including what is the preparation of food. So the entity that is engaging in what is putting out the food, that also what I buy, the entity is stalking and monitoring everything. So the entity that's engaged in what is tampering with any food, controlling what it is that I am consuming, and so putting anything in my food, I want to be clear with regard to anything that is available to purchase. That's both the ability to control that. So I want to reference that too. I have documented before when, and I have not been subject to anything that's been any poisoning, for example, that has caused sickness. But that does not mean that the entity is not doing things such as putting stuff in your food. This is relevant to what the entity is engaging in. And I just want to be clear, this goes without saying. It's common sense that the entity is going to engage in what is stalking you from place to place, like I'm showing, and the entity that would assert that that the target individual is documenting. The target individual is not any sort of addict, has no history. I've never been an addict. I've never been a drug addict. I've never taken even medication, never had a prescription, never had any sort of mental health background, never had a doctor, none of this stuff that the entity is trying to just assign you with. It's just trying to marry you to that image. They're just trying to manufacture it, and then kidnapping you doesn't create it. It is the entity under all circumstances trying to force that image on you. But myself personally, I've never had any of that experience with any of those things. And so this is also why I'm documenting, because the entity that is engaging in any sort of drugging, any sort of poisoning of any of my food, that is obviously the state. Because this is the entity that's controlling the food that I'm consuming. I have to get it from them. And not only that, it makes no sense when I have no history of that. I'm still conducting myself like somebody that is not an addict and that does not take any drugs. For it to be found in my system, anything, that is obviously the state as well. I want to point that out. That's something that I felt led to also explicitly address. The entity engages in, that would be, again, nonetheless, I'm not going to, because the entity does a lot of foolish things. The entity flew over my head for over 5 minutes while I documented it, and it's a matter of record and obvious targeting, where you're hearing the entity maintaining presence while I'm talking, and an ongoing documentation, and the helicopter is remaining over me, not going anywhere. You're clearly targeting with the helicopter activity, and I'm narrating that, and I'm documenting on a daily basis gang stalking, specifically with the hallmark of helicopter activity in that specific environment. The entity has still not learned that it's never going to become natural, and neither can anybody in Florida share the environment when you're keeping the sun over one building for 11 hours, when it's still there when I walk in the morning and when I walk out in the afternoon and in the evening. The entity is engaging in that, the unnatural behavior of the lights with regard to my shadows surrounding my person. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct, and putting things in the food of the targeted individual is something that's going to be attributed to that same entity, and it's also going to be relevant for prosecution for poisoning. The entity is under no circumstances, you're not creating, this is common sense though, but I feel the need to address it. That is not going to aid in Tracy Banks's lies with the Ontario police that I have medication. The record also demonstrates, even while they're kidnapping, no medication ever, and they've never prescribed. There's never been any diagnosis. They're always putting in, they're putting, making notations. They're naming things that are, again, of their own concoction, but it doesn't even address me. All they're doing is, again, forcing you into that situation by kidnapping you, making a bunch of documentation of their own, and it has nothing to do with actually analyzing me. There's no conversation with me. There is no, with regard to, other than the entrance, like for example, when they kidnapped me, and I did address the at the presence of the emergency professionals at the, well, they're not professionals, but the emergency, in the emergency area of the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, I gave them an opportunity to do the right thing. I told them these are malicious assertions. This police department, this police officer did not observe any violence, and those are false and malicious assertions that were made with the intent to accomplish an arrest, whereby I would be in this highly prejudicial circumstance where you're looking at me in handcuffs, which is prejudicial in the first place. And for me to tell you, first of all, that it's false, and that also I documented the false allegations that were made. Would you like to see that evidence that I have on my phone? Didn't want to see that, and relied on, and that's a part of the pattern of conduct. That's the whole purpose of the entity that is engaging in what is relying on the assertions of the people of the state pursuant to criminal summoning, and then kidnapping you, taking you to the hospital where they're abusing authority under the Welfare and Institutions Code because they want to maintain blind reliance on the false allegations presented by the police department. This is how the entity is doing so, but they did so unreasonably, and that does not provide probable cause to detain under the Welfare and Institutions Code. And the entity is doing so also maliciously while they're gang stalking at that hospital. And the entity is doing so, by the way, while you're engaging in kidnapping. That does not create any sort of mental illness. So for you to write down the fact that Tracy Banks said words about mental illness, and the Ontario Police Department wrote down words regarding mental illness, and then the hospital is merely relying on that and just parroting it in paperwork, that's not diagnosing mental illness. You're putting down words that mean nothing. It has absolutely nothing to do with me when you're doing nothing other than a kidnapping. All they are always doing is trying to force that targeted individual to this image, which is never becoming a part of who the target individual's identity is. It is relevant to criminal defamation, though, because this is the illusion that the entity creates when they are under all circumstances engaged in an unlawful conduct in doing so, and the entity uses that to engage in what is defaming you in these gang stalking courts, in these corrupt courts that permit high school graduates like Tracy Banks to maintain a secret conservatorship far outside of how the law requires a conservatorship to be created, while the government is also at the same time gang stalking you, targeting you, and that is for the purpose of creating the illusion of mental illness as well. This is exposing public corruption. The entity that is doing so is also and this is what I'm led to speak to today. The entity that's targeting and engaging in all that and then poisoning your food as well is not successful in creating, but this is the efforts of the entity. So I want to document that the entity and all the food that I'm consuming, and this is why I document as well. I am under no circumstances walking in conformity to somebody that is an addict. And my documentation is not demonstrating somebody that is an addict. And my consistent documentation of what is establishing targeting by the government is not that which is demonstrating somebody that is walking around inebriated or some sort of in debauchery and not making any sense, speaking gibberish. This is what the entity would rely on. It's not going to happen, and my evidence speaks for itself. And it's also relevant because anything found in my system, it's a product of poisoning. I have never consumed, and I have not consumed any voluntarily any chemicals. I drink tea and the water and what I drink, and I maintain the focus of trying to consume only sealed food, but not that does the entity is the one that is stalking, anticipating what it is that I buy. Everything about me and what my practices are studied. So the entity sits around stalking and monitoring me in my sleep, following me around everywhere. Whatever it is that I buy is public information, and the entity is also presenting that for it to be purchased before me, while this is a system of gang stalking. So I just want to be clear, because that also is unsuccessful, and it also makes no sense. This is why I document everything. And it's also revealing the tactics of a corrupt government. And putting anything in the food of the target individual for them to consume, and then all of a sudden, in the face of this evidence, oh, there you go. Disregard everything. The 63 videos of stalking since the June 3rd release from the hospital, that means absolutely nothing, because look at what's in the system of Erica Spencer. She's clearly an addict, and none of that made any sense. And that is proving that the Ontario police were not stalking, even though they're on video every night following her around. But that's not proving following her around, because there's something in her system, and that is clearly not evidence of anything. And you're going to disregard it because she's clearly an addict, and and she's on drugs, and nothing that she ever said made any sense because there's something in her system. That's the logic of the entity that engages in criminal conduct of poisoning. And so this is something that I felt led to discuss. This is something that criminals like Jason Isaac Fields are relying on, like criminals of the Ontario Police Department, the City of Ontario, the State of California. It is not rendering illegitimate the evidence that speaks for itself. It's not. Secondly, it is evidence of poisoning because I have never been one that's taken any medication. The most that I do is take ibuprofen, and that's if I get cramps during my period. And that's just to be frank. I don't even get sick with regard to taking cold medicine. I rely on drinking a lot of fluids and vitamin C and hot fluids and tea and keeping my hands clean in order to stop the reinfection of your body. It's based on germs and stuff. So I handle a lot of things naturally if I even have those. I don't have these problems, and I don't take medication, and I've never had any prescriptions, and I don't drink, and I don't do any drugs. And so for me to also be documenting at the level that I am, engaging in the level of legal analysis and what I'm speaking about, that's not somebody that's high, that's not somebody that's drinking, and that's also common sense. The entity is always relying on criminal conduct and just blatant disregard of facts that do not coincide with and do not aid in the creation of the illusion of mental illness, and any sort of tactics that are employed in that manner. It's not going to be just disregarded, it's not going to be superseding all of the evidence. The entity is going to be prosecuted for all of its corrupt tactics. And demons like Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks that think that engaging in what is an unlawful eviction to create instability while I'm still documenting, while I'm subject to the same pattern of conduct that I was subject to inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, while I'm on the job, gainfully employed, subject to domestic terrorism and psychological torture by the Los Angeles Police Department, which is inherently interfering with my right to liberty, threatening my life and safety while I'm being gang stalked on the job by the employer. Yeah, that's interfering with my ability to maintain employment. That's not creating any evidence of what is mental illness. This is all of the tactics of the entity, and the entity that is gang stalking me now is not under any circumstances proving the existence of any mental illness that is supporting a criminally procured, a fraudulently procured and secret conservatorship. It's unlawful in the first place, and then your unlawful conduct of targeting is not supporting it, and you're going to federal prison for that, and you are not stealing my property thereby it. And this is also relevant with regard to the secret marriage, the entity engaging in any acts of poisoning, the entity engaging in what is an unlawful eviction at a Tracy Banks' apartment, the entity engaging in what is targeting me, domestic terrorism and psychological torture, gang stalking me on the job, as I documented in 2024, where I was forced to resign in July based on the gang stalking conduct that this entity is engaging in. And as I am remaining on the job, as I resign, as I go from city to city, staying in hotels, as I come to Tracy Banks' apartment in Ontario, California, the pattern of conduct is documented ceaselessly. As I go to Nevada, the pattern of conduct is ceaselessly underway. That is not under any circumstances serving the criminal purposes to criminally defame by the entity, but nonetheless, it is showing the government's conduct in seeking to target and doing so obsessively. And that is because the government is very, very obsessed and delusional. That's relevant to the mental illness of the corrupt entity that I'm exposing. And it's relevant to damages. It's relevant to the federal prosecution of the government that is engaging in that pattern of conduct. And it is under no circumstances, this is what I'm stating, it is the only thing that is impervious is my actual character and reputation is impervious based on my documentation, which upholds and stands against all of the entity's efforts to criminally defame. In the face of what is your evidence of targeting me, there is no actual successful defamation. It's nothing other than name calling, but it's name calling by the government, and that's supposed to stick because it's the actor is identified as one that's supposed to be presumed as legitimate, and the documentation is showing that it's not legitimate. The government is gang stalking. The government is engaged in what is secret conservatorships. The government's engaged in what is a secret marriage to me. The government is interested in stealing property from me. The government is gang stalking with the people of the state. The government is highly unintelligent under a fake sun and an engineer light in concert with the people of the state that are engaging in targeting with that. So the government is going to be prosecuted for any acts of poisoning as well. So I just want to document that it's currently 5:33 a.m. on, again, June 22nd, 2025, and this is P.O.C. That is the entity stalking by planes. That's Southwest Airlines. That's moving, by the way, north as I move north. This is Laurel. And now they're flying over G Street, over 325 West G Street when I'm at the TABOR Professional Building. This is evidence of stalking, following from place to place. And crossing path with vehicles is a method of light activity. And the entity is stalking in the path. I'm going to document this vehicle, this blue vehicle right here, stalking in the path with light activity, keeping their foot on the brake as the Ontario International Airport is far deviating from, for example, where Alaska Airlines is taking off over the Shiro's Liquor on Holt Boulevard. And Holt Boulevard runs parallel to Airport Terminal Road. To Terminal Road, where the entity is taking off from the terminals closest to what would be Holt Boulevard. But even that's a deviation, while Alaska Airlines, which takes international flights, is taking off from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4 and not gang stalking by taking off over, and by taking off, I mean being over the Shiro's Liquor and rising in elevation over the Shiro's Liquor, which is not taking off from the airport. They are flying much, much northwest to be at this location and then engaging what is rising in elevation here. The highly unintelligent conduct of, again, that's Southwest Airlines in particular. That's the third party, and it's the state actor, the city of Ontario, that's gang stalk with the people of the state. They're all monitoring me while the entity is targeting with plane activity, which is amplified audible activity. This is federal stalking the people of the state share in. License 50087U3, for example, and I'm going to document the people of the state right here. The apartment complex is monitoring. The entire venue is monitoring. The venue is the city, and so is the Ontario police that are being disbanded. P.O.C. It is currently 5:40 a.m. All right, like I documented on video, license 50087U3, license 9CUH186, license 7NTM250, license 7AUN765, crossing path, license plate 8LVA851, driving straight down the street with the turn signal on for a method of flashing light activity. That's a demon, 9LIW285. This is a Texas plate, license 7WK2918, and license plate 1SCULLY. That's the demon that's stalking by engaging in what is stalking in the path as I'm on Laurel. And this is where the entity is gang stalking, flying west, hovering over Laurel, and doing so, navigating stalking and migrating as I walk south from the TABOR Professional Building, south down Laurel. This is where the entity is migrating south and not flying what would be north of me. It would essentially be over the top of my head for them to be flying over 325 West G Street like they are when I'm at the TABOR Professional Building. As I migrate south, so does the plane direction, and that is the evidence of also stalking, in addition to having anywhere near Terminal 2, Terminal 4 to be hovering over Laurelwood. And for me to document that, 8D42813, 9CRE185. That's again 1SCULLY. This is the demon that's stalking in the path using the vehicle lights right before the Ontario International Airport. Cross the path. License 9PSY831, and the entire apartment complex, Laurelwood Apartments, right here at Laurel in between G Street and F, as in Frank. They're monitoring. License 9NBN356. And the gang stalking conduct of the people of the state outside of the apartment complex, outside of the houses, the homes of the people of the state, which are all facilitating venues. The gang stalking conduct of the government is what is proving that the entity is gang stalking altogether. You will be prosecuted where you live in relevant position. The entity's own criminal conduct is what is incriminating everybody else. Laurelwood Apartments, again, this is at Laurel and F Street. DINCK1, 8XBE397. 9NKW076, license CH45436. That's amplified train activity as I'm documenting. 206 F Street, 9RJJ435. 9RJH044, 2NXN890, 9LQY756, 4TOM936, 8MVT007. This is P.O.C. And that's audible activity while the people of the state are monitoring. The impossible audible activity of train occurring where I'm documenting, or where I'm at, even if I'm not documenting, the people of the state are monitoring. These are the demons that are under the fake sun. Say you don't see anybody, but the fake sun is over you while you're walking by a house. You don't see anybody walking outside. They're monitoring. You're going to document. It's a specific environment which is telling on everyone. It's a supernatural occurrence, and that supernatural environment is there because you're being monitored. You're being targeted. License 8RUG723. License 7GZB580. And by the way, they're not sleeping while the airport is hovering over all their homes either. They're gang stalking while the entity deviates from being over the airport, taking off from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4, and taking off over their apartment complex. License 6AIJ942. License 9NIV724. License 8AUP245. 7YXH920. 9BCW085. 5SLB368. 8XKZ384. It's 5:44 a.m. This CH45436, that's a Illinois plate. That's an out-of-state license plate. License 7XGB532. It's 5:45 a.m. P.O.C. License plate 7ASG444. 8LVA851. And license, yeah, I wrote that one down already. I documented that one already. The AEGIS clinic, where I believe the government is paid to distribute drugs to the people of the state, these gang stalkers with these demonic spirits on them that are engaged in criminal activity with this clinic, the AEGIS clinic. These are the demons that are engaged in what is gang stalking me in the parking lot. Let me remind you about their license plates. While these drug addicts go to this clinic to get their drug dose for the day, where the government's being paid to keep people high. This is license 8ZML815, 8NFB894. Yeah, these are AEGIS employees. They're gang stalkers. License 9LSX012. These gang stalkers engaged in what is surrounding me, a bunch of demons together while they're stalking as a population, tracing my steps, okay, being ahead of me before. Gang stalking is not about chronology. License 8NFB394. The entity is following with a whole environment, and where that environment remains around me as I go to your establishment is going to be prosecuted for stalking me. And you are going to be prosecuted for gang stalking me at that establishment. 6LFS662, and you're going to be prosecuted in the shoes of the state, because that's what you represent while the government is gang stalking me with you, through you. These demons are feeding drugs to the people of the state at this clinic. And they're all under the same demon possession, by the way. Giving drugs is just fueling demons, and they're gang stalking me in doing so. And it's no wonder you have this sort of system underway. People that suffer from addictions and being treated with more drugs that are distributed by the government, who's merely being paid to be a pharmacist, a drug distributor, a drug seller. The entity is gang stalking, that's speaking to the corrupt government that engages in that sort of unethical, immoral conduct. All right, this is a godless system though. 7XYH243. That's why they're both drug dealer and gang stalker, by the way. 5DNX602. P.O.C. It is currently 5:48 a.m. Now I'm at F Street and Euclid, where the entity engages in what is migrating south. As I fly south, the planes do not occur behind me, which would be in the direction north. Pay attention to my documentation. All right, the entity maintains the gang stalking by the commercial airplanes south of my person. License 6JIA855, gang stalking with Starbucks. To have that demonic synchronicity as I arrive at the driveway, that's when that demon crosses path, stalking with light. License 8 W.O.C. 331, gang stalking, crossing path with impossible light activity while sitting at the drive-through window. While Starbucks is gang stalking, you know that those demons are stalking with light. That's why I document the inside of the cafe. They're doing so while I'm walking outside, and the demons remains at the drive-through window, where the demons are engaging what is demonic synchronicity while they're pacing all around me, stalking with light. 9 ACW 555. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:49 a.m. Brian is inside gang stalking, and the other one named G, he doesn't write down his whole name. He thinks he's smart. He's still going to federal prison. But this is 507 North Euclid Avenue at Starbucks, P.O.C. All right, it is currently 9:58 a.m. Tracy Banks, license 9HUZ740, is gang stalking with Starbucks in the same way that the Ontario Police enter into the venue in the specific environment, gang stalking with Starbucks at the facilitating venue under the fake sun, the engineered light. The entity's been maintaining the specific environment, which is speaking to the knowledge of the population that's gang stalking with Tracy Banks and with the Ontario Police. This is the entity that's targeting, again, with her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, who are both maintaining a criminally procured through fraud and by gang stalking with the state a secret conservatorship. While she's arriving in the specific environment, the fake sun is remaining since, remember, 6:33 a.m. where the entity is keeping the fake sun. Let me go ahead and get this really quick, 1 second. All right, this is showing the indiscriminate engagement in the pattern of conduct, which is existing in the specific environment, which is what the demonic environment, where this satanic targeting system that is occurring, affecting the communication devices on the internet amongst the population. That includes the Ontario Police. It includes the venue where the fake sun is over, where this is speaking to knowledge about who I am with regard to that supernatural feature. The fake sun is documented over Tracy Banks' apartment at the same time. Every hour of the day I've documented it from sunrise until sunset. She is at the facilitating venue of Starbucks engaging in federal stalking with the Ontario Police. She's doing so with Starbucks, just like when the Ontario Police enter into the venue, which remains a specific environment even while the fake sun is covered up. The fake sun is a means of identifying who the entity is targeting, and it is me, maintaining an ongoing, long-existing body of evidence regarding this environment, which is harassing, it's terrorizing, and it's also an admission of the entity engaging what is targeting one person, and it's also an admission about the fact that they are demon-possessed. The entity is stalking with impossible light, and doing so while Tracy Banks enters in sharing in terrorism and psychological torture and harassment, and she is the one that's also maintaining a secret conservatorship while she is gang stalking with the people of the state engaging in that pattern of conduct. She is arriving, again, like she always is, unsolicited. She's coming and, again, while maintaining a secret conservatorship and gang stalking, and then coming in and asking if I want orange juice. This is not somebody that is engaging in anything or any sort of care for me, and never has. Even while I'm in her apartment, I am documenting the pattern of conduct. And I'm only in her apartment because I'm being gang stalked while I'm at work, which is what I documented in Los Angeles. And I was being targeted while practicing law as well. This is all precipitating from the targeting system of the state. And Tracy Banks is under all circumstances engaging in the P.O.C. with Alana, Seth, Saul, this third-party male with the beanie on his head. He wears glasses. He only reveals his name on his tag as G as in goat. And Alana and Elena. Elena is, I believe, the lead, the Caucasian female with the burgundy-colored hair, and Alana appears to be an olive skin color, perhaps Latina, but she is gang stalking. They have similar names. And the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct with Tracy Banks while she's entered in. It's very specific with regard to the P.O.C. superseding the focus on buying a drink. For example, someone saying, I go to Starbucks every day. It's legally irrelevant. The superseding fact is the supernatural presence of the environment, which is proof that that business is stalking an American citizen and in concert with the government in furtherance of murder and kidnapping and theft with Tracy Banks and the Ontario Police, who have both engaged in gang stalking me at this venue with Starbucks, the corporation, and Starbucks' employees, who are exhibiting demon possession as well, stalking with amplified audible activity, stalking with the impossible light that appears on the wall while they use the drive-through window, while the entity keeps that fake sun aimed through the windows of this venue in alignment to me on whatever side of the cafe that I remain, in concert with the Ontario Police that flies in helicopter over me inside of this venue, as I document as well, and the Ontario International Airport flying over in commercial planes like they are right now at 10:02 a.m. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct, and Tracy Banks is engaging in what is maintaining a means of targeting, gang stalking me while coming into the venue putting money on the gift card. This is not any sort of exercise of authority under any sort of lawful conservatorship. And in the same way, when I'm dealing with her while documenting a raging psychopath and a violent sex offender, an incestuous one that is targeting me while I'm at Woodside Senior Apartments, in the same way, this is no lawful relationship with regard to having any legitimate conservatorship, and she's gang stalking the entire time with the government that she summoned on May 29th to commit kidnapping, adding to what is, again, the fraudulent and the secret means of a criminal device, which is this conservatorship, which is entirely illegal, and it's a criminal act committed by the state, okay, and violating the laws as to how you are legitimately creating a conservatorship, and also the government engaging in what is gang stalking me while providing Tracy a criminal means of targeting with the intent to steal, relying on my death and relying on kidnapping me via defamation, which is accomplished through this system of gang stalking. So I want to document that. Tracy Banks is arriving under the fake sun, and I'm documenting her arriving under the fake sun in the middle of the afternoon as well. Don't forget that it's currently before 10 a.m. when I'm documenting her presence, gang stalking. Remember, I'm documenting the fake sun at this same venue today during the 8 a.m. hour, and it's still over the same venue. It's 10 a.m. Tracy Banks is arriving, gang stalking, and Tracy Banks has been gang stalking as I've been documenting her with the people of the state, with the city of Ontario, and in other cities as well. She's gang stalking me in Azusa with the Azusa Police Department. She's gang stalking while I am with her in her vehicle, and we travel from place to place, and the entity is engaged in that P.O.C. So it's not new with regard to her engaging in the P.O.C. with the state, but I just want to be clear, this is her arrival today, and this is, again, an unintelligent, and that's why you document, because the entity under no circumstances has any legitimate means, and targeting, which is what the entity is doing, while engaging in what is psychological torture, which is what the entity is doing. It's inherent to the pattern of conduct. Doing it with the gang-stalking police who are surrounded with evidence, with the gang-stalking population who are surrounded with evidence, at the facilitating venues which are surrounded with evidence, is not engaging in anything that is creating any legitimate relationship. The relationship between Tracy Banks and I, who she is legally, she's the people of the state, and she has conspired my death and my defamation in order to steal property that she has never admitted belongs to me, that she has already stolen from me, that she's conspired with the government to take from me by gang stalking in order to defame me. She's never admitted that. I'm documenting it because I'm going to prosecute her, and I'm prosecuting the government. And she is a malicious psychopath, in fact, in her engagement in the pattern of conduct and her conspiring against her relative and trying to steal and going through all of these deeply intricate and far-fetched and extreme. It's far-fetched, but it's supported by evidence. But it's far-fetched that you would engage in this against your own relative just for monetary gain, but there are people that do extreme things like Tracy Banks is exhibiting, and it's revealing what is relevant to her mental illness. Again, it is shared by the Ontario Police. The psychopath that flies in circles over me, following me around in helicopters, that department shares the same mental illness that Tracy Banks suffers from. This is psychopathic behavior, very extreme, and it is something that is so quote-unquote far-fetched that it is but for documentation, unbelievable, and that's why the entity engages in it. It's the same with the impossible light activity, which is an admission that the population is stalking somebody that they know exactly who they are and what they're doing in real time, and that's what's occurring inside of the cafe while Tracy Banks is present. And I've been documenting the demons pacing in and out. Seth is pacing in the bathroom. Elena is pacing in and out of the bathroom. The population is coming in, purchasing beverages, and leaving is how they're pacing. Parking on the sidewalk is how they're pacing. Euclid Avenue is pacing around, and so is F Street with regard to traffic. This is how they're pacing around and monitoring. And Ontario International Airport is, again, south of the TABOR Professional Building, because I am south of that location, and far deviating from the Terminal 2 and Terminal 4 to be rising in elevation behind the Arco gas at 434 North Euclid Avenue, as though planes are taking off from that location now. This is based on my location. And you know that this is all targeting because the fake sun is remaining in a supernatural manner. It is still present, as I've documented at the end of the day as well, where the people of the state, including Tracy Banks, are sharing in that pattern of conduct, okay? So I want to make sure Brian is also present as well. He is leaving as of 10:06 a.m., engaging in that pattern of conduct. He remains a part of the entity. This is documentation with regard to those who are going to federal prison for systematic engagement in that P.O.C. And I also want to be clear, Starbucks is not going to interfere with the prosecution of the people of the state that are coming in and making purchases. I don't care how impoverished the demons that are coming in. You have homeless people coming in and gang stalking. They have their Obama phones. they're sharing in the pacing conduct, they're gang stalking while they're collecting Social Security, they're gang stalking while they're engaging in collecting their unemployment, and you're gang stalking with the police, you're gang stalking systematically, you're going to federal prison. It is not going to be based on your socioeconomic status, and Starbucks' deep pockets are not going to compensate for that. There will be no negotiation. You engage in the crime, you violate the policies with regard to how you're going to disincentivize the system of domestic terrorism in this country. You're not going to supplement by suing a company and then other people avoiding prison, for example, because this is what Alana, Seth, this so-called G, and Saul, the people of the state that are pacing in and out of the bathroom when they are with knowledge, because these are demons that are monitoring my device. So as I capture images of the people of the state coming into the venue, partaking in the pattern of conduct, in doing so, they are the entity is, which is the Starbucks employees, they begin pacing. And I'm just explaining their defeated and feckless efforts. You are not taking over the criminal prosecution, or excuse me, the criminal charges of another person. The entity is acting as one. Now, while another is participating in the pattern of conduct as an entity, they're going to have all of that prosecution to themselves, and so is the employee Elena, so is the employee Seth, so is the employee Alana, every other one, so is the employee Brian, etc. And the Starbucks Corporation is going to be prosecuted as well. They are not going to compensate, and there is no, oh, well, we'll just, award damages, and that's no, that's not justice, and that's not disincentivizing public corruption, where the government relies on millions of people to target one person together, while keeping a fake sun over the establishment, and the employees are systematically engaging in facilitation while that population enters into the venue, sharing in the pattern of conduct, and it's all in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. No, you're not going to do that. And this is, again, part of the rationale behind what these demons incite, and it's speaking to impunity and malice. That is also why the employees of Starbucks are subject to federal prison, in addition to gang stalking with the government. It is currently 10:09 a.m. where the fake son is present in Tracy Banks' documentation. It's relevant to her criminal means of seeking to conspire my death, conspiring kidnapping me with the state, while she is gang stalking and maintaining a secret conservatorship, which is the conduct of the entity. Tracy Banks represents the entity that has maintained a secret conservatorship through criminal conduct while simultaneously gang stalking me, and she's going to federal prison for it. And it is also relevant to note she's at the venue under the fake sun that's remaining for the duration of the day, and the combination of that documentation is showing her here under the fake sun in the morning, 10 o'clock, like I'm documenting today, 10 o'clock in the afternoon, where it's still here in the same manner after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And just like I'm documenting, it's an impossible coincidence. It's not a coincidence, it's a pattern of conduct when I'm at Woodside, inside of her apartment, Unit 51, and the entity is keeping the fake sun over her apartment building where I'm documenting the same exact pattern of conduct, replete with the impossible light inside of her apartment, replete with the fake sun remaining over her apartment, which is not going to be shared, by the way, with Starbucks. What I'm looking at over Tracy Banks' apartment at 10 o'clock in the morning, for example, at 10:54 in the morning, where on May 16, 2025, where the Ontario police are flying over the top of my head while that fake sun is over the top of my head at Tracy Banks' apartment, that is not over the logo of Starbucks when I stand in front of their entrance, when I stand at the window. That's not shared. If it's over Tracy Banks' apartment, then I can't see it over here at Euclid Avenue facing south or facing north when I am at this venue, and it's vice versa as well. Tracy Banks is engaging in gang stalking, and so is the Ontario police, and this is what the entity is doing when they're stalking, and they're stalking the federal prosecutor that's leading them, because they're following me. So as they follow with the fake sun, it is clear and conclusive evidence of that population knowing exactly who I am and stalking in that unheard of and unprecedented manner, which is inherently domestic terrorism, psychological torture. It's inherently harassing, and it's harassment by an entity, and it's also the sexual violence conducted by that entity that's engaging what is monitoring my vagina in the bathrooms of whatever venue I go into in the city of Ontario, while it keeps it within 0.4 miles on the same street. That is Euclid Avenue, from the Ovitt Family Community Library to what is this Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where it is present for exceeding over 2 hours now, and a population is just vacillating faces, identities, and they're sharing in what is stalking and monitoring together. They're all engaging in federal stalking as well. So it is currently 10:11 a.m. I want to document that. Again, this is the feckless efforts of Tracy Banks. She's going to federal prison. It's revealing the malice of the entity, and so is Jason Isaac Fields, engaging in what is the entity's criminal act of maintaining a secret marriage through fraud, through criminal conduct, while simultaneously gang stalking the alleged spouse in that marriage that the target individual knows nothing about. It's that the government is interested in stealing property. It's the same government that's stalking through that police department and through that corrupt airport, that's targeting by virtue of their activity creation in that specific environment, noted through the impossible light activity, noted under the fake sun that remains over that targeted individual, that is a victim of targeting through the proof of a fake secret conservatorship and a fake secret marriage. Those third parties are going to prison. That's Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks. It is currently 10:12 a.m. The fake son is remaining over 507 North Euclid Avenue, and you'll see that reflected on the images uploaded to the Google Drive. And as a matter of evidence regarding obstruction of justice efforts, not only the violence that the entity is engaging in last night on June 21st, 2025 in concert with the Ontario Police Department, with whom Starbucks is gang stalking right now. The entity is flying over my head at 130 West G Street, the gym, where I've documented the fake son. As you will see, it published on YouTube, and I'm just referring to the history of evidence of this venue that's gang stalking, has been engaged in targeting for years. And also you're looking at what is grandfathered in, the Blink Fitness system, the Blink Fitness Center gang stalking under the fake son, and so is the gym, another fitness center that's sharing in the pattern of conduct. It's just like Derek Williams gang stalking as the corrupt chief of the Ontario Police, and so is Mike Lorenz, the current chief, the terrorist leader over the Ontario Police Department. There are no coincidences here. It is a pattern of conduct that I've been documenting for years, and the Ontario Police is being disbanded, and they're being disbanded for the violence that this same population that's gang stalking in Starbucks committed last night, chasing me down in a parking lot because they are engaged in federal stalking. And while you will document, but not only that, based on the surface level of things where they're relying on their surface level of assessment, and there is no federal prosecution that's going to be relying on the surface level assessment. These demons are delusional, but nonetheless, you're going to document their delusional efforts, their delusional behavior, because it's relevant to diagnosing their mental illness when they're gang stalking. But the entity is engaging what is violence last night with the Ontario Police, who fly over my head at the gym at 130 West G Street, and they are engaging in that pattern of conduct just like I documented and I foretold while Corporal Tadosky is gang stalking with the people of the state at this same venue in Engineer Light, as I'm documenting last night at this Starbucks. And exactly what I said is exactly what the Ontario Police did, because the Ontario Police is gang stalking through the entire department, and everything that they're doing in the specific environment, which is surrounding me at all times, is pursuant to that criminal pattern of conduct, and that is proven through that supernatural environment. Standing under artificial light and street lamps, etc., does not create multiple shadows. This is where the Ontario Police are conducting traffic stops in order to monitor me, and it's demons who are manifesting while they engage in light activity, relevant positioning, and audible activity, the elements that are remaining in that environment where they're monitoring, engaging in criminal surveillance. And that malice, by the way, is the evidence of their demon possession as well, because you're supposed to be looking at the service of a police officer engaging in what is the execution of their duties, and you're not supposed to be aware of the fact that they're engaged in criminal conduct of the highest level of hypocrisy and malice in furtherance of murder and kidnapping an American citizen, that they're gang stalking as an entire police department. You're not supposed to be aware of that, and it's proven through the maintenance of that specific environment. And where this fake son is over this Starbucks this morning, it's the same specific environment that Corporal Tadosky was gang stalking me in concert with the people of the state who engage in criminal summoning in order to target. In fact, this is what Ontario Police and Tracy Banks engaged in on May 29, 2025, engaging in criminal summoning to commit kidnapping. And Tracy Banks is remaining a threat, and coming in and buying orange juice does not neutralize that threat, regardless of my response. You see me handling all the demon-possessed in a controlled and a dignified manner. If you're engaging in what is harassment, I will document your harassment, but I'm maintaining composure and control because I'm prosecuting in a very calculated manner, and the entity is not engaging in any less of a threat, and neither is Tracy Banks, while she's coming in gang stalking and asking if I want orange juice, and then trying to record these encounters as though she's engaged in anything less than defamation via criminal monitoring with the government and with the people of the state, and that's going to render a criminal means of a conservatorship as legitimate, and it's not. She's a delusional psychopath. She's going to prison under all circumstances. It's 10:16 a.m. This is P.O.C. The entity is gang stalking commercial planes flying over the ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue, which is in perfect alignment with the Unicare Health Center, where you saw them gang stalking on June 19, 2025, while the Ontario Police are engaged in criminal summoning under the 1108 fake sun, which is evidence today, while I'm documenting it during the 8 a.m. hour, that the fake sun is necessarily a supernatural light object indicating targeting, and that everybody that's targeting is necessarily targeting, and they know exactly who they're targeting, while a sun remains over one building, just as you can use that duration of time from 8 to 11. Where in the natural environment, Florida is never under the sun in the natural environment, where I'm documenting that supernatural environment, where the demons are sharing in the ongoing admission to stalking me as an entity, because engineer light flies inside of this venue, which you've also witnessed at 4:52 p.m., which again, when you're analyzing what I've documented today at 8 to 4:52 p.m., first of all, sunlight is never going to move inside of the venue because you're driving your car next to it outside on the street. And the sun is also not going to remain idle over one building like I'm documenting at this venue, where Tracy Banks and the Ontario Police are gang stalking with the people of the state, including the employees and the corporation itself that are going to be prosecuted for maintaining it as a facilitating venue for the government to target an American citizen. The duration of time is what is prosecuting the entity, proof of what is targeting in that unprecedented manner. The gang stalking that Starbucks is engaging in, and it's facilitating, is supporting, is shielding, but they're unsuccessfully shielding. I'm going to prosecute them for seeking to continuously engage in it while they're simultaneously engaged in federal stalking. That's why I document that. Not only are you stalking, but you're monitoring the evidence of your stalking me, and you're still stalking in doing so. That's relevant to damages, and it's relevant to time in prison. The entity is doing so from 8 to 4, 9 to 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. That's 8 hours, where in the natural environment, the sun is never remaining over one building for 8 hours. And this is how you are analyzing and prosecuting the pattern of conduct of gang stalking, which is demonic, and the people of the state engaging in it are demon possessed, and that includes the Ontario Police Department. It is currently 10:18 a.m. It's still June 22nd, 2025. This is P.O.C. All right, couple of things. The fake sun is remaining idle over the venue, and the people of the state are exhibiting mental illness. What they're doing is pacing, and their secret engagement in targeting someone is fully exposed, and their mental illness is also exhibited while they're still stalking somebody that has exposed that, and the way in which, it's also based on the way in which they're stalking, pacing inside and outside of the bathroom based on where I'm positioned inside of the cafe. And the people of the state are doing so under the 10:36 a.m. fake sun. If you'll recall, when I am inside of the library on June 20th, 2025, at 10:39 a.m., the entity is keeping the fake sun over the window above the staircase adjacent to the elevator. That's very exclusive sky space for the sun to be located, but it is conformity to the pattern of conduct to keeping it over my head. It is over my head where I leave Starbucks on June 20th, 2025 at 215 East C Street, which is north of this location, which is also why this third party license plate 1162F2 is walking in engineered light that's flat on the floor on the inside of the cafe, which is impossible light activity. It's blatant, plain evidence all over while the entity is gang stalking. And they're also doing so under the fake sun, which is over the entrance of the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, which is not possibly to coexist at the same time to being over the window of the elevator, over the staircase of the Ovid Family Community Library, which I documented on June 20th after I departed from this venue in the morning, and documenting the entity engaging in what is gang stalking in concert with the Ontario Police. And doing so, the fake sun is over the entrance of 215 East C Street. You can see the logo of the Ovid Family Community Library. You can see the light source over my head. The entity is keeping the fake sun here, and where Tracy Banks is gang stalking, where the entity is gang stalking with the airport, and the police are always engaged in what is relying on the gang stalking conduct of the people of the state, like what Starbucks is engaging in with the population. And pacing in and out of the bathroom is not everybody that has the same timing with regard to relieving themselves. It's their monitoring and engineered light, and it's very demented behavior that you are witnessing the population sharing as they walk in engineered light back and forth. And this is what the population that is driving on Euclid Avenue north and south is actually engaging in as well. And it's demented. The demon-possessed want to appear normal. They want to appear with regard to those, in other words, that are not demon-possessed. And so they are hiding, if you will, in plain sight, driving vehicles under the fake sun and engineered light, while they are all psychopaths and they're demon-possessed people who are pacing on the street, and they're stalking me together as a population. And the impossibility that the sun would be over the window of the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street at the same time that it has remained idle, well, 8RHY938 is gang stalking on the sidewalk outside of the Starbucks, where impossible light is flying in the air, communicating an unlawful threat. And it's also understanding it's unlawful because I'm documenting it. So it's a threat where the American citizen isn't aware of it. It's a threat when that American citizen is documenting it, and the entity is exhibiting mental illness while communicating that threat, and their secret system of stalking somebody is fully exposed. This is shared by the Ontario Police that's flying in circles over my head, like you can hear on podcasts and like you see on video yet again last night. And the Ontario Police is gang stalking right now with the demon-possessed population that they share that condition and mental illness with. The psychopathic behaviors of pacing in and out of bathrooms, it's as demented and sick and perverted and malicious as it gets. The bathroom destination is based on walking by me in Engineer Light in concert with the demons on Euclid Avenue that are driving by me in concert with the entity that is flying by me in planes while they're all stalking as a fake sun is highlighting that fact. That supernatural aspect of the demon-possessed who are targeting together as an entity. Sitting inside of the cafe is also demented. You're not focused on buying coffee at Starbucks. It's not that great. You're gang stalking under the fake sun and you're a whole demon as you do that. It's just getting to the level of disgust and weirdness when they use bathrooms to stalk somebody, when they are stalking with light that flies in the air and across the walls and the ceilings, when they engage in more stalking conduct and become more and more hostile and violent as you expose them as the demons that they are and the stalkers and predators that they are. This is what's relevant to the fake sun remaining over the Obafemi Community Library, over the window in particular. And as you know, the fake sun remained over that Obafemi Community Library on June 20th, license 8XLK134. When a document crossing path, and the entity is engaged in what is surveillance. That's what Starbucks is engaged in. Starbucks is going to be prosecuted, the corporation, for criminal surveillance as an entity, and the employees are also going to be prosecuted. Amelia, Elena, Seth, Saul, those are the employees that are gang stalking with the people. They're preparing drinks, serving Starbucks products in impossible light and under the fake sun, gang stalking and doing so. The entity is doing so. I believe this other third-party employee, I believe her name is Allison. The entity is engaging in this P.O.C. with a remarkable amount, and by remarkable I mean disturbing. The entity is engaging in what is the pattern of conduct with regards to stalking and engaging in surveillance in bathrooms. That's how desperate, and that's how obsessed, and that's also how sick the demon-possessed population are while they're engaging in what is pacing. So this is giving you context regarding the significance of the environment and your ability to see the secrets of the demon-possessed that are engaging in demented behavior that you may not be able to see in the spirit, but might giving you a translation about what they're actually doing. This is a satanic spirit that's using all of their bodies at the same time, and they're actually going back and forth and 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 back and forth. They do it as a group while they maintain presence in the building. And then with regard to prosecuting it, you're going to prosecute the company for engaging in surveillance and stalking on behalf of the government. And remember, Starbucks' motivation is murder and kidnapping while they are making money serving drinks and doing so. That is going to be disincentivized through punitive damages that are designed to devastate that corrupt company. This is public corruption that Starbucks is engaging in, and Starbucks is knowingly engaging in it while the entity, as I've documented, engaging in what is communicating very specific threats while the kidnappers themselves, the sex offenders themselves monitoring me through this population, comes into the cafe engaging in the pattern of conduct in your face, which is an intolerable level of a threat that the Ontario Police and the Ontario Fire Department and American Medical Response have shared in. But understand that the entity is doing so in concert with Tracy Banks as well. It's currently 10:44 a.m. This is P.O.C. at 507 North Euclid Avenue where the fake sun remains. And like I already stated before, this is why you're documenting, and then I can reiterate what I already said and remind you about what is the ongoing ceaseless pattern of conduct that the entity is obviously and plainly engaging in, and the defeated demons who are literally defeated in the spirit. They are being defeated in the natural with regard to what was never a competition. It has been my role to expose the demon-possessed, to expose Satan, in other words, who is using people who are demon-possessed, and they're engaging in criminal activity. And so this is exposing what is spiritual darkness, but it's exposing terrorism in the United States, criminal monitoring, targeting, surveillance, and it is underway by the government and the people of the state. And it is relevant to what is mental illness that needs to be and shall be addressed as well. It's currently 10:44 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, the people of the state coming into the venue monitoring, and it's pursuant to what I'm doing online. So I'm going to go ahead and document also what I'm currently publishing and republishing. The additional federal charges for obstruction of justice is what this entity is going to be prosecuted for. The particular podcast that the entity is interested in keeping off the internet, off of my YouTube channel in particular, It's published on the internet still. It's still on the Spotify. You can get it on Pandora. You can get it on Amazon Music. You can get it off of the host itself, the Spotify website, which I share the link to on X, formerly known as Twitter, where I share the link to all my published podcasts, and you can get it on castbox.fm, you can get it on Odyssey, you can get it on Listen Notes on the internet, you can get it on iHeart. The entity is concerned with YouTube in particular, and it is remaining on the internet, but nonetheless it is obstruction because no government is going to touch evidence exposing its own criminal activity while they are still also at the same time actively acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping by still gang stalking. Like the absurdity of that, while they're engaging in criminal activity as well, even in doing so, and that is federal stalking conduct while the entity is unpublishing the podcast. Specifically, Ontario Police crossing path at 11:32, pacing with the impossible light with all the rest of the demons who are the Ontario Police Department, and this is what Corporal Tadosky is engaging in last night, which is why he's going to federal prison. So the entity continuously is reiterating their criminal engagement while they are failing in secretly threatening. You're being documented by the federal prosecutor, so this is exactly the pattern of conduct that Tadosky was engaging in last night, and he's going to federal prison, like all gang stalking fake cops in Ontario that I document, and the Ontario Police are being disbanded. But nonetheless, the Ontario Police is pacing with all the rest of the demons who are the people of the state, who are all admittedly stalking me together, while they're pacing inside of the Starbucks, where the fake sun still remains as I capture in images. And the entity is interested in what they are seeking to repeatedly unpublish. This is the documentation, and this is why you should go back and listen to it, because there's a lot of damning information, which the entity is nonetheless going to be prosecuted by. So unpublishing, again, this is that feudalistic, short-sighted, just immediate type of conduct, and I'm going to keep that conduct that you engaged in at the second when you were triggered, and I'm going to prosecute you with it at a federal prosecution that is going to happen in court, and that moment is sitting on the record to prosecute you. Okay, so nonetheless, the entity is engaging in what is unpublishing the podcast documented on June 20th, 2025. And this is 4 hours and 15 minutes, a lot of documentation captured. This is where the people of the state, their residences are included, and I'm documenting the entity gang stalking me as I'm walking through the neighborhood, and that neighborhood is sharing in the elements of monitoring. Impossible light, while demons are driving, your headlights don't create engineered light. Those are demons stalking in the path. Impossible light activity is supernatural conduct by demons who are stalking me with that engineered light while they're monitoring and stalking me while I'm going from place to place. And I also documented their addresses while that was occurring, and it's terrorism by the people of the state that are sitting around in a Starbucks gang stalking as that same entity. The documentation is again dated June 20th, 2025. That is evidence that the entity is again seeking to keep hidden off of the YouTube platform in particular. And that's federal stalking conduct, and it's being added to again the charges of the City of Ontario engaged in federal stalking, the Ontario Police Department engaged in criminal surveillance, federal stalking, it's obstruction of justice, and the people of the state are catching all of these charges as well. So this is that pattern of conduct. The entities are still seeking to keep off of the internet what is already all over the internet as well, also in video form, is the documentation showing the criminal conduct and the incompetence of the Ontario Police Department on June 11, 2025, where I am documenting the Ontario Police engaged in criminal summoning again in this specific environment, just like Corporal Tadosky under what is the engineered environment where he is gang stalking me and exercising authority under the law that he doesn't have, even while he's pulling over the people of the state and monitoring me in doing so. The Ontario Police are gang stalking at the Ontario Museum of History and Art on June 11th, and doing so in the dark night hours, which is terrorism upon federal group stalking and monitoring, and a threat to my liberty, my life, my well-being. In addition, the criminal charges of obstruction of justice, while the entity is seeking to keep this podcast that they're embarrassed by off of the internet, repeatedly unpublishing it. It is published in a manner that you will find it on the podcast list also, regardless, and you'll also find it on my YouTube channel where I'm maintaining videos that cannot be rendered unpublished by this gang stalking entity that are a bunch of psychopaths stalking with engineer light under a fake sun, and delusional with regard to the impossibility of you're not removing any evidence. And the fact that you engaged in the effort of obstruction of justice, those are additional federal charges by company, by individual that's acting as an entity, by state. Okay, so the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. and I'm diligently documenting all of it because it's going on the record as the ongoing pattern of conduct. Obstruction is built into the pattern of conduct of the government. That's why the consequences are so severe, apart from the fact that it's the government engaging in the unprecedented criminal act in and of itself. All right, but I want to go ahead and document third parties because this is what they're focused on while I am publishing the documentation for June 21st, 2025, which again, the entity is also very wary about. It is 2 hours and 42 minutes in total. It is currently published as of 11:36 a.m. on the venue of the internet that you can access at all other platforms, not just YouTube. But the people of the state that are coming in, literally coming in, going straight to the bathroom. Seth is occupying the bathroom, and this is again timing. They're not coming in and ignorantly going to the bathroom. Oh shucks, no, somebody's in there. I gotta, walk back out and wait. That's pacing that they're engaging in. These are demons. They're highly unintelligent, breaking down their whole system. Their focus on the bathroom is also based on where I'm positioned in the cafe, which you are also aware of because the fake sun is in position over me where I'm at the cafe. That's why it's remaining over the Obit Family Community Library on June 20th, 2025 for the duration of the day, because it remains there until I exit, which is what I documented. It's 11:37 and the fake sun as of 8 this morning is remaining over the same venue, which is also letting you know it's proof of the fact that they're focusing on the bathroom with regard to stalking me. They're present purchasing drinks with regard to stalking me. They are present driving on Euclid Avenue with regard to stalking me. Being at the Arco, filling up their gas tanks, the same at Chevron, even arriving at those venues where they work. Preceding date of employment, needing a gas before I arrive, for example. All of these are legally irrelevant. The supernatural environment is there. That's why a fake sun follows me, and where it's following, the pattern of conduct is superseding. That's why it's there. And the demon possessed, the public corruption system, is supposed to coexist with what is all ongoing on an ongoing basis, so that you're never able to see the stalking system, but you could see it very clearly. All right, you could see it as clearly as that impossible light, those lights of spinning tornadoes of light inside of this venue, where they're all engaging in criminal conduct that the feds and everybody else in the world can witness. All right, this is where they're engaging in seeking to conceal evidence. This is also psychopathic. They sit around laughing, coking, and joking like they're oblivious to me and my presence, but they're on the internet trying to hide the evidence of it. And that's what's relevant about old white people sitting at a table in front of me, gang stalking me with the Ontario police, exhibiting severe mental illness, and then the next day they're trying to hide that evidence. 9SUU 678. At what is 11:38 a.m., stalking with Impossible Light while she is pacing on the sidewalk, and Impossible Light is coexisting on the inside of the Starbucks, and she's engaged in an act of terrorism that is committed as an entity. And that same pattern of conduct being shared by a population is impossible to coincidentally occur. This is the entity that is knowing exactly who I am by virtue of their engagement in the P.O.C. The entity they're not strangers. They're demons and they're psychopaths that are stalking together, and the whole operation of that targeting system is laid out for the world to understand, and you're witnessing their exposure, their embarrassment, and their prosecution. It is currently 11:39, so I want to document license plates of the people of the state engaging in that same exact iteration of the P.O.C. They're pacing in and out of the venue, and they're also pacing outside. And don't forget about what the Ontario International Airport is doing, pacing. No terminals over here. You're not flying over from the airport over the Arco, over the Starbucks, over the Unicare Community Health Center. You're stalking me where the fake sun is also proving that. And the demon-possessed, highly unintelligent entity that are stalking amongst cups of coffee as though you're going to be distracted by that. You're not. This is speaking of public corruption and why you shall not profit from domestic terrorism with the government that's engaged in criminal monitoring. But nonetheless, the entity is gang stalking the people of the state. The following license plates are engaging in that. 5YAK 501, a white Ford Focus. This is a Florida plate, an African-American male operating this vehicle. It's a cherry red Chevy Malibu, and the license plate appears to be L as in Larry, D as in dog, O or 0, and then M26. LDO-M as in Mary 26, or LDO-N as in Nancy 26, or LDO-A as in Apple 26. It's the 1, 2, 3, fourth character where I'm standing at the side where I'm not quite sure. I took a screenshot of it, and it looks like it could be an A, it could be an N, or an M. But it's a Florida plate, it's an African-American male, and he's also gang stalking with the Ontario police who are engaged in surveillance, just like Corporal Tadowski was last night, and simultaneously initiating a traffic stop as I begin documenting this African-American who is gang stalking by pacing in and out with the license plate LDO A26 is what I'm going to go with. But the entity can confirm this. I'm providing the road work with regard to the RICO case with regard to the prosecution for terrorism of this entity that's going to be prosecuted comprehensively. And my documentation is supplementing what the federal government is fully capable of confirming and using in order to prosecute. The state of California is being prosecuted. But nonetheless, the entity is engaged in this P.O.C. and is doing so pursuant to ongoing knowledge, real-time knowledge. And the Ontario police are gang stalking me, communicating a threat while they're crossing path in the specific environment. And they're doing so as an agency, a terrorist organization, repeatedly engaging in kidnapping while they're doing so with the intent to obstruct justice, as I document their co-defendant, the people of the state. This is exactly what the entity is doing last night at the gym at 130 West G Street, where the entity is documented keeping the fake sun over that venue, which I've been documenting since 2000. That video that I referenced on YouTube, where you can see it, is captured in 2020, fake sun in the middle of the afternoon. And I'm documenting the other day the fake sun over me at that parking lot at 6 in the morning. This is again where you're getting to what is the engineered environment pursuant to stalking me, and the population is fully exposed in that. It is in plain sight, and as I've pointed it out for you, all the world is able to witness a statewide targeting system where the demon-possessed know exactly who I am, and these are demons who are spiritually stalking, monitoring in other words, and they're also engaged in gang stalking. They're stalking me from place to place in the physical, and I prove that through the maintenance of that specific environment that they keep me around, which is terrorism as well. And Starbucks is engaging in that. License plate, also 8MVW462. I want to make sure that I get that, and then I'm going to, 8MVW462. And the people of the state in the cherry red Chevy Malibu, who was entering in targeting me. And targeting me is proven by the maintenance of a supernatural environment. That's why the fake sun is remaining over the Ovid Family Community Library on June 20th, as opposed to remaining over Starbucks, when I'm deviating from what it is that I'm doing on a daily basis. And this is also why the Ontario International Airport is flying over the Starbucks and not taking off from flights from the terminals, where they are engaging in what is the highly unintelligent conduct of rising up from the ground, and there's no terminal over here by the Arco. It's very, like I said, it's as stupid as being under a sun that sits over a building all day long, and it's very obvious. And so again, this is the very embarrassing, the highly unintelligent, and wildly obvious criminal pattern of conduct by the city of Ontario, which is the state of California, that's gang stalking. The gang stalking are the demon-possessed. The demon-possessed are not witty, they're just wicked. There's numerosity. Okay, but that is under no circumstances creating what is an empire of capable and elite and sophisticated and superior beings. These are lower beings. They're demons. They're hollowed out zombies. They're the living dead, and they are together stalking me, and that's why they're doing that, because they are all dead. The entities engaging in what are the deeds of the dead, and they are entirely defeated as I expose them as an entity, and they are also hostile to that, and that's because of their demon possession. It's also manifested with regard to mental illness. A psychopath is unhinged and hostile. When you're a stalker, that's like a rapist being mad because you're reporting the fact that they sexually assaulted you to the authorities, and you're angry because somebody is enforcing the rights that you raped them. That's a psychopath, okay? This is the entity's sentiments. This is psychopathic behavior and the psychopathic behavioral concerns about the entity that's engaged in the P.O.C, and they are the demon-possessed. And they are all under the target, which is the fake sun, showing that they're all targeting me. And the entity is doing so with the government that's using planes and the Ontario police. And with this African-American male that's coming in, pacing in and out of the bathroom while another occupies it in order to provide what is the basis of pacing. And also just repeating, so it's not just exclusive, somebody has to be in there for pacing. Going into the women's restroom, going into the men's restroom, coming out of the men's restroom, coming out of they're pacing all together. Going back and forth to the counter, picking up your drinks, preparing the drinks behind the bar. They're all doing it under the fake sun and an engineered light. They're all pacing all together around me. I am literally the centerpiece, and that is speaking to the mentally ill, demon-possessed population that practices gang stalking throughout this country. And this is exposing that in California, where it's underway. But the Ontario police is being disbanded. They're gang stalking with this African American who is pacing inside of the venue, as I am documenting by getting up. Remember, every move that I make This is how you're stalking with activity. This is how you're stalking with light with simultaneity. Every move that I make, and then you're also understanding the sex offender, because that's what's going on, that knowledge, that monitoring regarding my vagina. Every move I make, everything concerning me and my vagina, okay? So the entity is engaging in what is monitoring every move that I make. This is why engineer light fills the venue, and a whole bunch of psychopaths that are looking around like it's not happening, and nobody is persuaded by that. You're witnessing their mental illness as you're witnessing their criminal conduct. And the entity is engaging in what is monitoring, and the Ontario Police simultaneously cross paths as I get up off of my seat in order to, again, document the demons that are pacing in and out of this cafe, gang stalking me with the City of Ontario, pursuant to real-time knowledge of what it is that I'm publishing and their failed effort to keep it off the internet. It's on the internet, it's staying on the internet. I'm going to document you trying to keep it off of the internet, and it's staying on the internet. But nonetheless, it is the African American that's driving that cherry red Chevy Malibu, and this is documented while the Ontario Police simultaneously cross path. He has a low cut haircut, like a fade, short cut hair, in other words, and he's wearing glasses and a white t-shirt, and he is walking in and out of the venue, pacing. In the fake sentence above, he is gang stalking in that cherry red Chevy Malibu, and as I get up, the Ontario Police are simultaneously crossing path, and that's the ongoing obsessive stalking and monitoring by the police department, which is no coincidence under the fake sun and in this engineer light that remains. And the license plate of the Ontario Police Department that are gang stalking with the people of the state, by the way, of all races. It is a license 1661853. As you hear the clattering right now in the background, that's simultaneous with what is my zooming in on my phone. Everything that you're hearing is literally based upon what I'm doing. Literally as the demons prepare the coffee drinks, okay? As Alina is crossing paths, she's coughing, that's audible activity, relevant positioning, and engineered light. Everything that the demons are doing, it's both pathetic and it's centered on me, and that is entirely sad with regard to the existence of a human being who's made their entire focus another person. But this is how Satan is using the lost. They are devoted to stalking me and monitoring me, the one whom Satan can't have me. Satan can't possess me. Satan can't convince me, threaten me, intimidate me, scare me, or deter me from doing what it is that I am doing, which is prosecuting. And I'm also spiritually exposing those who are engaging in what are psychologically attacking people through spiritual attacks, demonic attacks, and doing so in ways which, again, the ordinary target individual is ignorant about. But these are a bunch of demons, witches, and those that are practicing witchcraft. And witchcraft is, and the supernatural, the demonic, in other words, is right in front of your face, i.e. a sun remaining over the venue. It is still here. I've been documenting it since the 8 a.m. hour, and that's how you know their preparation of the drinks is centered on me. They're going in and out of the bathrooms is centered on me. They're driving on the street outside of the building is centered on me. They're going to the gas stations across the street is centered on me. The traffic lights turning green and red and yellow are centered on me. They're entering and exiting the venue of Starbucks is centered on me. They're handing out the drinks, and their movement in the drive-thru around the building is centered on me. The planes that are flying over the venue where there's no airport, that's clearly centered on me. I've already shown the Ontario International Airport's pattern of conduct. It's all centered on me. And again, plane activity at 11:49 a.m. where the demons are gang stalking inside of this venue. So this is, again, the entity engaging in that P.O.C. And this is what Seth, Alana, Elena, Saul, Allison, Catherine are engaging in with the City of Ontario. And again, that Ontario Police Department, that's license plate 1661853. Simultaneously crossing path with my documenting the image captured at 11:24 a.m. And all of the people of the state that are in here right now are engaging in what is obvious criminal activity for which there's no controversy. So there's no question here about who is gang stalking. There's no question here about whether gang stalking is underway. There's not even a question about how is gang stalking executed. All of that has been answered by the P.O.C. And the entity is also answering what it is that I'm exposing. I'm providing additional analysis because this is going to be the prosecution for what is the diagnosis of the mentally ill who are engaging in this gang stalking, and the identification of the national security threats who are demon possessed. And as you are recognizing and witnessing, it creates a health concern, a safety hazard, because demon possession affects the mindset, the behavioral patterns of those that are engaging in targeting other people based on their condition. And this is that psychopathic behavior that is inspiring their targeting other American citizens in this country. All right. So the entity is engaging in demonic behavior inside of the cafe. And another example, a demon gets up out of their seat. As they get out of their seat and walk toward the trash can, walk toward the bathroom. As they cross paths with me, the demonic synchronicity. The demons that are preparing drinks drinks, loud clashing, all right? This is the loudest preparation of coffees ever, and that's because these demons are gang stalking while they're preparing drinks for a very well-known brand, and that is Starbucks, that's going to be prosecuted for domestic terrorism and psychological torture. This is the ongoing pattern of conduct, and the entity is engaged in targeting and doing so, and it's pursuant to criminal monitoring. So you're not just engaging in what is harassment, by the way. You're engaged in what is domestic terrorism, and you're going to be prosecuted for the pathetic way in which you do so, even by preparing coffee drinks. 25Y5972. It's a license plate of the people of the state, gang stalking on a motorcycle. All right, entering and exiting the venue is an engineer light under the fake sun in concert with the entity that amplifies helicopter, but I meant to say plane activity, because the entity is maintaining patrolling commercial planes over the intersection of F and Euclid. And this is, again, just like being over 325 West G Street, flying over at 5 in the morning where I'm documenting the volume and the elevation of that plane. There is no takeoff from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4 while the Ontario International Airport is engaging in the P.O.C. that the City of Ontario is engaging in with the people of the state. And it is the entity that is monitoring, targeting together as one. It is currently, by the way, 11:52 a.m. This is the P.O.C. The entity is engaged in federal stalking. And the entity is engaged in what is an ongoing effort to obstruct justice by concealing evidence on one platform, because it's all over the internet as well. But again, the American citizen, you're not going to be on any platform on the internet where the government's going to conceal the fact that they're trying to kill you, that they're trying to defame you and target you, and do it secretly or something. Okay, that's absurd. And this is also, again, the policy. You're going to federal prison. The entities gang stalking you, the police that don't want to be identified while you conceal them, the people of the state that don't want to be identified while they're targeting you. That's prison. Okay, and the demons that are stalking with audible activity while they're preparing coffee drinks, they're going to go from being baristas, to prison. All right, just like that. It is currently 11:53 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, this is the Ontario International Airport, gang stalking by commercial planes. Here, let me show you. As though they're taking off right in alignment to me, as I can see through the window. That's Delta Airlines gang stalking. Clear deviation. They're taking off from right here behind the Arco, flying over the Arco. They're doing it while I'm recording my podcast. The demons who are entering in and out of this venue, gang stalking by pacing in and out of a bathroom. That is the very sick and demented conduct. And who are demon possessed and gang stalking by targeting, by being in alignment to me where I'm seated in the cafe. That's how diligent the demon possessed are stalking. And you know this because the entity is that this is Euclid and E Street. I was saying F Street. This is Euclid and E as in Erica. The entity is flying much more north to be over 325 West G Street, where I documented at 5 in the morning, and I was documenting all night. The entity gang stalking me by plane and helicopter. Terminal 2 and Terminal 4 is southeast of this location, and this is clear targeting evidence as I continuously document the City of Ontario. Paul Leon's being removed from office. Alan D. WAPNER, the corrupt president over this airport that's been gang stalking as a matter of evidence for years, is being removed as well. And the entity is gang stalking by virtue of the City of Ontario engaging in that targeting, which is occurring under the fake sun, which is also how you know that the City of Ontario is gang stalking with commercial planes. In concert with gang stalking medical professionals under the fake sun. It's been here since 8 o'clock in the morning, and this is also not remaining over the Ovitt Family Community Library. This is the entity that is gang stalking in the absurdly ridiculous and criminal and very malicious and psychologically harmful manner of commercial airline planes. Gang stalking pilots are going to prison. Okay, that mental illness is clear on its face. All right, this is impossible light walk. That's all impossible light activity. See, the entity is stalking with plane and helicopter, police, fire and ambulance, and the people of the state doing things as pathetic as going in and out of the bathrooms to pace around me where I'm situated, in the same way that the planes are targeting where I'm situated inside of the cafe, happening under the fake sun. This is P.O.C. Okay, it is still June 22nd, 2025, remaining at third-party facilitating venue, Starbucks, evident with the supernatural over the roof of the building and also being over the parking lot. And as I go to the back parking lot, where the drive-through window that has an extensive cover where no sunlight is ever going to appear underneath it, especially on the wall, and dynamic at that. nor is it going to be reflecting off of windshields adjacent to it. None of that light activity is naturally occurring. It's the admission of the employees who are stalking me, and stalking me specifically with the Ontario Police Department, who are gang stalking with the people of the state that are also monitoring by being patrons at the venue and being around the venue and at the venue. The fake sun is remaining as of 1:50 p.m. as well, which I documented today, June 22nd, during the 8 a.m. hour. So we're going on 6 hours of the entity maintaining the fake sun over the venue, where the people of the state are one entity and they're stalking together, maintaining presence. And it is through the patronage of those of Starbucks and the employment, the corrupt company practices of Starbucks, and it is all vicarious conduct on behalf of the city of Ontario. That's the state of California that is gang stalking in that specific environment, and it is also relevant to what LAPD is doing in Los Angeles, where the entity is keeping the fake sun over me, over my apartment, where I'm living and working at Alvarado Gardens. As of it's 1:51 p.m. So I'm documenting the people of the state that are sharing in the ongoing sexual violence, harassment, terrorism, and psychological torture as an entity, documenting the entities. This is Starbucks criminal conduct, and I'm documenting Starbucks that's acting in concert with the people of the state while they're maintaining a business that is the malicious facilitation for federal group stalking and monitoring by the government in the city of Ontario at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And the entity is gang stalking with the ongoing admission of monitoring while impossible light activity is flying in the venue, touching all over my person, in addition to all over the surfaces, which is also an unlawful threat posed by the entity that is monitoring you. And is also, remember, I am documenting the criminal monitoring system, so that's an unlawful threat. Not only are you monitoring someone, but you're not monitoring someone that's ignorant about it, you're monitoring someone who is documenting it, which is an unlawful threat as well. And that's a threat to your life, safety, well-being, and your liberty, because this entity is engaged in a pattern of kidnapping with the Ontario Police. So this is all relevant to civil and criminal prosecution. It's relevant to what is sentencing, and it's relevant to the gang stalking public officials who are going to be removed from position for this criminal system that they are engaging in, as I document the people of the state. And the entity is engaging in what is gang stalking, terrorism with impossible light activity, as they are exhibiting mental illness in doing so, which is a threat. While the entity's mental illness is put at the forefront, it is on display while they're stalking you. So a bunch of people that are acting obviously crazy are threatening your life and safety together while they are targeting you together. And this includes the people of the state and the state, including the following third parties: License 8JUV695, License 9CZT737, License 9NYM824, License 8AJJ810, License 8DOR665, License 7CRP164, License 8DGS998, License 9RSB372. Stalking with impossible light activity, molesting my person, touching me with this impossible light activity while stalking on behalf of a corrupt entity, doing so in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, and exhibiting severe mental instability. This is psychopathic conduct while you're engaging in what is enjoying beverages, and engaging in what is receiving like an hourly pay wage, which is what the employees are doing, while you're engaging in what is maintenance in the path all around the venue, the gas stations, the traffic, the patrons in the drive-thru, the health community center, the city of Ontario that's engaging in the pattern of conduct as it's embedded into what everyone is doing in the city, while a fake sun remains over me in the city of Ontario at this same address where it remains. All right, the entity is maintaining the same exact specific environment. Remember, the specific environment is not the natural environment, so that's speaking to the maintenance of a crime scene that is deliberately there for the criminal purposes of the people who are not ignorant nor reasonably ignorant, especially while they're engaging in the P.O.C. of stalking with audible activity, stalking in sync with this impossible light activity that's ongoing, as the impossible light activity coexists with what it is that I'm documenting, what it is that I may be referring to, that the entity is hostile to, necessarily aware of, while the entity is targeting me at the venue under the fake sun, in the engineer light, with planes and helicopters, the police, fire, and ambulance, as I've documented. This is the people of the state that are fully engaged in that, and this is the prosecution of that entity, and this is relevant to the prosecution. They are coming and engaging in domestic terrorism at the venue, and then they're going home, and the prosecution remains on the record. The criminal conduct, the act of terrorism, the sexual violence, the impunity, that mental illness, it's relevant to both diagnosis and prosecution. This is all remaining on the record. So I want to make sure that I document that. And this is mental illness while they are pacing inside of the cafe. This is not ordinary conduct. This is demented conduct while they are pacing in engineer light. They're pacing under the fake sun. They're pacing all together inside of the cafe. And then that's what's going on with regard to the demon possessed who are engaged in criminal monitoring. And this is public corruption that I'm exposing. So I want to make sure that that is understood. It's 1:55 p.m. where the entity is engaging in that. And I'm documenting the people of the state. You'll see the images of the demon possessed. You'll see the images of the domestic terrorists. You'll see the images of the sex offenders that are engaging in what is surveillance with the Ontario Police Department who are being disbanded. Okay? This is the criminal conduct that the Ontario Police Department relies on, and no law enforcement agency that's engaging in this level of public corruption and kidnapping is going to remain in operation. The Ontario Police is being disbanded, and they share in the mental illness that the people of the state exhibit while they're engaging in that P.O.C. as I'm documenting it. It's 1:56 p.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, the federal stalking conduct by the people of the state entering into and out of the bathrooms with regard to my uploading the documentation onto the internet. This is where they are stalking in the path, using things that are amplified in volume, such as the hand dryers, while the engineer light flies inside of the venue, while the demons that are monitoring with them outside are crossing path, and engineer light flies across the seating adjacent to me while they're monitoring as the evidence of their criminal conduct, which they're going to be prosecuted for, is published on the venue of the internet. This is what's underway at 1:57, 1:58 p.m. The entity is acting together with knowledge that is being documented, and that ongoing obsession to continuously engage in it is also what's being documented. This is, again, Starbucks' criminal conduct that it's sharing in with the people of the state, and the entity is engaging in that psychopathic pattern of conduct with that noted level of impunity, and that mental illness is exhibited through that impossible light. It is currently 1:58 p.m., so this is federal stalking that the company is going to be prosecuted for, federal stalking under Title 18. And the entity that engages in what is stalking in bathrooms in order to monitor the evidence. And I describe bathrooms, and I describe stalking in bathrooms. I describe the genitalia that's being monitored in bathrooms in order to underscore the mental illness inherent to that. License plate 8WYY598, 8UCP793. Engaging in gang stalking, terrorizing while they're all engaged in federal stalking, 76221E4. They're on the opposite side of the wall while impossible light flies through, while demons are pacing in and out of the bathroom, and the demons on Euclid Avenue are crossing path while impossible light is filling the cafe. 9HRN357, 7RGZ304, 8CJG422, and the fake sun is now over the back parking lot. This is where the fake sun is at 11:08 a.m., where the Ontario Police are engaged in criminal summoning on June 19, 2025. It is 1:59 p.m., and on June 19th, I went to the library after I documented that criminal act by the Ontario Police, who are gang stalking with the people of the state. License 9MRL589. This is the entity engaging in that pattern of conduct, and their obsessive engagement in it in the face of being proven for engaging in that conduct is what's relevant to the disbanding of the Ontario Police and the federal imprisonment of the people of the state engaging in that obsessive and psychopathic pattern of conduct. Stalking with light is the outward demonstration of mental illness. And the entity that does it with, ooh, looky, no hands, that's the entity that's going to be prosecuted for it. And it's not funny, but this is the mental illness of the demon possessed that engage in what is witchcraft, acting via the demon possessed who are engaging in supernatural behaviors in order to target someone. And the entity that is ordinarily accomplishing what is criminal defamation and doing so is the entity that's acting with malice and showing their psychopathic mental health disorders. The license plate 7PAA263, and the fake sun is back over the entrance as I walk out of the front entrance of 507 North Euclid Avenue. 7PSZ197. They're stalking with light, and they are stalking while they know that the evidence against them is being published online. This is all criminal conduct that the Ontario Police is being disbanded for. They're acting with the state. License 8HNR252. P.O.C. This is federal stalking on the venue of the internet, and it's also gang stalking relevant position, which is terrorism, stalking me as a whole city, as a government body, engaging in that as a population. And they also share in that stalking conduct obsession with me in a bathroom regarding my vagina. It's currently 2:01 p.m. This traffic outside is what coexists with impossible light activity inside, the demons that are inside stalking. P.O.C. It is 2:01 p.m. This is monitoring evidence, and this is all pacing. This is surveillance, while the entity is crossing path. Closing the blinds and opening the blinds is light activity creation, and the fake sun is over the building. It is currently 2:32 p.m. Hi, excuse me. Hi, excuse me. Excuse me. Hi. I was talking to you. Can you put the blinds down because the light's flying in my face?
What was that?
Are you Catherine? I was trying to. You couldn't hear me?
No.
Oh,
Sorry,
I was
this thing
asking.
is actually loud.
Yeah, I put the blinds down because the light is flying in my face and it's hard for me to see the computer.
Do you want me to put this one on or?
Well, those two. I don't know where the light is coming from actually, but this one that's right next to me.
Behind you?
This is Catherine. No, this one. I mean, I don't really care. I don't know where the light. I don't even know how that's occurring. But it's getting all over and I can't see.
I'll put these two down.
Okay, that's light activity creation. Thank you, Catherine. Catherine is monitoring and doing that. And they're the ones that are pacing in. That's Catherine. Yeah, that's impossible light activity. They're monitoring in real time. This is harassment by Starbucks. And these are the demons that are coming in, pacing in and out, while the demons are in traffic in Euclid Avenue under the fake sun, gang stalking. And this is the criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department. This is exactly what Corporal Tadowski was engaging in at nightfall. Impossible light activity on the inside. He's gang stalking at the light the same time that I began recording. This is when he initially starts the traffic stop, pulling over one of the demons that are gang stalking, and engages in criminal summoning right here. That's what I documented yesterday in the engineer light. Gang stalking at the same venue where the fake sun is remaining at what is not 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 6 hours so far. This is P.O.C. The impossible light activity is within the well-documented pattern of conduct. It's literally the admission of the entity that's criminally monitoring, and so is the fake sun. It is currently 2:34 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, the video that you just listened to is the ongoing evidence of monitoring through the impossible light activity, which is the signature of the entity engaging in gang stalking in that environment, and the entity, Catherine, right? Okay, that's Catherine that's pacing while she's monitoring my device. She's doing so while the impossible light, like you see on video, while she's engaging what is harassment. The entity is putting the blinds up, which is light activity creation. They're monitoring my device, hostile to what I'm publishing online. Catherine and her co-defendant, but also her co-worker, are putting up the blinds and the window coverings with regard to permitting more light in, which has nothing to do with the sun. The sun is sitting on the top of the building. There's no light that's coming from the sun that's above the building when it's covered in shade on the sidewalk, by the way, as well. And that's also engineer light. It's the shadow of the building flat on the ground, which is impossible light activity. And that flat shadow of the building that's on the ground is just continuously progressing into the street, while all the demons are obviously stalking in that environment. And they're doing so while impossible light is also shooting horizontally all over the walls, while Catherine is intentionally engaging what is harassment that I'm documenting, both with the impossible light activity and with the while she's doing so with the Ontario Police Department, who are gang stalking me with her at the venue. Catherine is doing so with the intent to harass and psychologically torture and terrorize. Catherine is subject to federal prison, by the way. She's gang stalking with the Ontario Police, who are monitoring me through this light activity that the people of the state are stalking amiss, which is with regard to crossing and path conduct while the light is flying in the air. This is a terrorizing environment. It is the entity that is Starbucks, the corporation, is engaged in the criminal act, and Starbucks' employees are going to be prosecuted for the act. And going into the bathroom is the engagement of what is crossing path, light activity creation. Impossible light fills the venue. Moving the chairs is audible activity, while stalking in the path in the engineer light. Everything is facilitating. That's the significance of the impossible light. That's the significance of the fake sun. That's the significance of the drive-through window that has an extensive cover over it, and there's no light that's going to be on the wall where the demons of the Starbucks venue are pacing around while they're preparing drinks, monitoring me. It is 2:50 p.m. That is the demons of the Starbucks employees. They are pacing in one after another. This is a Caucasian female with blonde hair, very much a hollowed out zombie, pacing into the bathroom right after Catherine, while they're monitoring, while the impossible light is flying, while the demons of the people of the state, the demons who are the people of the state, are pacing via traffic, is where you're looking at demonic activity in California, where the people of the state are engaged in gang stalking in plain view. They're engaged in demonic activity while they drive on the roads and the highways in California under the fake sun. They are monitoring me at the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And this is, again, what I will refer to you to remind you about what Corporal Tandowski is engaging in with Starbucks, while then he gets out, this demon gets out bearing weapons exercising fictitious authority under the law, while Satan's playing dress up and using the vessel of Corporal Tendosky to engage in what is monitoring me. He's stalking in the path with light activity in the same exact manner that Catherine is gang stalking me inside of the cafe, and it's happening at nightfall because it has nothing to do with the fake sun either. The fake sun is an identifying key. Where you see the fake sun, monitoring is going on, and that's how you know it's going on in this country, because Florida has a whole fake sun over them today. Because the one sun in the natural environment, where you're documenting the entity, gang stalking as compared with what the natural environment dictates, no light shooting off of your car when you're driving by a building outside, no light is manifesting underneath drive-through windows of covered structures or whatnot, and no sun sits over, the one sun does not sit over one building all day. This is how you know that Catherine is a demon, and Catherine is a domestic terrorist. She's a sex offender, and she's engaging in what is harassing me and stalking me with the Ontario police, who are engaged in doing so with helicopters every night as well, while Catherine is engaging in that pattern of conduct with them inside of the venue, in that readily identifiable crime scene. So this is speaking to the malice of Catherine. This is speaking to the intent and the deliberation with regard to what Catherine is doing as she's lighting up the window coverings, and the entity is aware of my documentation about harassment and psychological torture and terrorism with impossible light, while all of the thousands of co-defendants are pacing on Euclid Avenue in concert with the Ontario police, who are pacing as the same demon-possessed entity that's going to be disbanded. That's why they're being removed from law enforcement, because those demons are unfit to be in law enforcement, and this is the criminal conduct that they're sharing in. That again, Catherine is facilitating and engaging in vicariously at the venue, and Catherine is doing so with every other co-defendant. So this is P.O.C. It's 2:53 p.m. and the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct of stalking with impossible light, and it is the outward demonstration of mental illness. It's an absolutely cartoon-like environment. It's loony, it's wacky, it's weird, it's entirely impossible, and this is getting to what is the depraved mindset, the very demented and unhinged maniac that is the demon-possessed people of the state. And that is just the vicarious actor, because the Ontario Police Department, the City of Ontario, public officials, the government, in other words, people that work in the government, they're the same condition. And their pattern of conduct is exposing their closeted mental illness. And it is literally the ability to categorically speak upon a group of people because of the identical pattern of conduct, because of the maintenance of the specific environment around me while they are in my presence, which is criminal stalking, all right, while they're monitoring me in that environment. It's 2:54 p.m. and the evidence speaking to what Starbucks is engaging in. Prosecuting Starbucks is a prosecution in California. Starbucks is literally the embodiment of what the state of California represents. The average person getting up in the morning and coming to get their latte, coming to get their frappuccino or their espresso, whatever, their Americano, whatever they get, before they go off to work, before they go off to the beach, whatever it is that they do. This is what California is filled with. This is what is all over social media. And for Starbucks to be engaged in this pattern of conduct, it is literally indicative of what the entire state is engaging in with regard to its symbolism. And it's a symbolism of Satanism. It's a symbolism of corruption. It's a symbolism. It's symbolism of perversion, sexual perversion. It's symbolism of mental illness, actual mental illness, and demonic and criminal conduct. So this is what the employees of Starbucks represent, and Catherine is on video engaging in exactly what you see Raquel engaging in at a different hour, though. Raquel's gang stalking into the fake sun and harassing me with this impossible light that is, again, not shooting through the window. That's the illusion, and it's an unpersuasive one. But you're looking at the light that's coexisting with the demons that are in traffic driving by, and then you're seeing the light that's swiping across the walls. While the people of the state are the demons that are, again, just sitting there like it's not happening. They can sit there and act like it's not happening all they want. They're going to be prosecuted. It's documentation of domestic terrorism that Starbucks is engaging in, and you are being prosecuted. It's as direct as holding the knife in your hand and stabbing the victim. You are engaging what is gang stalking in that engineer light, and it's not going to be, oh, no hands, you don't see me doing it, I'm not guilty, and you don't have to be holding a flashlight, even though that's another method of stalking with light, but you don't have to be holding a flashlight in order to be held accountable with regard to gang stalking, criminal monitoring with the police. In Ontario, that's the basis of federal prison, and Seth and Catherine, Alana, the entity that's gang stalking the employees at Starbucks who are acting with the population. As you'll pay attention to my pictures, one group is coming in, the fake sun is there, they leave, and another is replacing them in doing so, and the fake sun is remaining. This is gang stalking, all right? And so this is all an entity. When I'm in motion, that fake sun moves as I move, and a population is rapidly vacillating as I'm moving through, and they're stalking in the path obsessively. And it's the same thing. The fake sun is just giving you a visual with regard to how everyone is stalking me, as no matter where I go. And everyone is demon possessed. Everyone. This is demonic. In addition to that, it's the entity that's gang stalking at nightfall in Engineer Light, like Corporal Tadosky is doing, in the same exact manner where Catherine is on video, and the people of the state, the demon possessed patrons that are engaging in public corruption with the government, gang stalking at Starbucks. And the impossible light that you see on the wall, that's exactly what's happening at nightfall when I begin documenting. And then Corporal Tadosky engages in what is a criminal summoning, which is activity creation, light activity, relevant positioning, audible activity, the elements of monitoring, while a demon-possessed police officer engages in gang stalking via criminal summoning. And doing so in the specific environment at the same exact venue, and this is what I was documenting, which is what he was engaging in. And as I'm documenting the entity stalking me with impossible light at nightfall in the same manner at inside of the same venue, this is what Corporal Tadosky is engaging in. And then I document him engaging in criminal summoning with the people of the state. He's stalking and molesting me with impossible light, like the Ontario Police is right now, while they are pacing on the same Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is remaining over the same address, where the Ontario International Airport you see on video gang stalking. That was during the 11 a.m. hour. It's 2:57. The Ontario International Airport, like I've already proven, is stalking. And so is the Ontario Police Department. Using the resources of a police department for criminal activity is why they're being disbanded, in addition to kidnapping, in addition to targeting an American citizen that the entity has placed a fake and criminally procured conservatorship and a fake marriage upon in order to steal my property that the government is invested in stealing from me, and sought to conspire to defame me by gang stalking, and that's not working. And it's not going to work. And my evidence in the prosecution of the state is going to establish that no American citizen is going to be defamed by the mental illness of the demon-possessed entity in the United States that's targeting American citizens. It is a fact, and their pattern of conduct is exhibiting mental illness on their behalf. They are psychopaths and violent sex offenders who are maniacal in the way in which they're stalking American citizens all together as a group. Who gets together and stalks one person? The mentally ill. They're the demon-possessed, all right? And it is the company of Starbucks that's engaging in it. License 5N0, I can't really see that one. This demon is engaging in surveillance and speeds off while the impossible light is driven across the wall at the same time. That's what Seth is engaging in. Seth is gang stalking while that ongoing terrorism, all he does is pace in and out of the bathroom, and the demons that they are in sync with are stalking with impossible light at the same time. This is Seth and Catherine sharing in that domestic terrorism inside of the cafe at 507 North Euclid Avenue. Seth is gang stalking with Ontario PD on an ongoing basis, and he's doing so with impunity. And his mental illness, his psychopathic and antisocial mental disorder is very obvious, and it's going to be put at the forefront of his federal prosecution, where he's going to be prosecuted with the state of California, gang stalking me, targeting me, harassing and psychologically torturing with the Ontario Police Department, which he continuously does with impunity and a high level of malice. Even though there's a low level of intelligence, that high level of malice is what is going to serve to put him in federal prison, where any terrorist that's engaging in this level of systematic monitoring with the government that's trying to kill and defame and kidnap someone, you're going into cages, you're going to federal prison. But that light activity coexisting on the outside with Seth crossing paths, Seth is engaging in that same act of terrorism while he's an employee at the venue. It's 2:59 p.m. This is P.O.C. inside of 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun remains as of 2:59 p.m. All right, this is documentation of the impossible light activity, which is the direct evidence of intent by the people of the state. They're not ignorantly or coincidentally present in that supernatural environment. And the entity is engaging in what is molestation of my entire person, my face. This is what I want to document the people of the state, Starbucks, relevant for federal prison, and they're targeting with the Ontario Police. And Starbucks is also profiting while gang stalking with the state. This is Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley. This is a Caucasian female going by the name of Harley. At least this is the name on their barista green aprons. Male, this is a Latino male wearing a black beanie. Tabitha. And these are the names that I'm recognizing. And this is the video documentation that I'm capturing at 2:31 p.m. where the entity has the fake sun as a matter of documentation at 8 o'clock this morning. This is the pattern of conduct. And the sun is not over in Los Angeles like it would be in the natural environment. This is the pattern of conduct. The sun is not over the Ovid Family Community Library like it remains as I documented upon my exit on June 20th, 2025. This is the pattern of conduct. The sun is not over Woodside Senior Apartments while it's remaining over this same building at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, and Tabitha are targeting me with the ongoing terrorism and possible light while they're monitoring me with the police. And they're doing so with the demented pattern of harassment and terrorism of this sort when you're documenting gang stalking. And so this is the intent of the people of the state. Literally the fake sun documentation, the supernatural character of the evidence is the intent to gang stalk based on its supernatural character. So you're talking about the entity is present in that environment, and where's their intent to gang stalk you by virtue of the fake sun period. That is the intent. Because of the necessity of that supernatural phenomenon occurring, where the entity is intentionally targeting you, and the entity is not engaging in any coincidence while that fake sun remains. And also, this impossible light activity coexists at nightfall when the fake sun is not even in the sky space, like what Corporal Tadosky is engaging in with the same demon-possessed population, like I documented during the 8 p.m. hour last night at this same venue. So this is relevant for, again, federal group stalking and monitoring, and federal prison for the people of the state that are gang stalking in the ways in which Starbucks demonstrates any and all businesses in the state of California are engaging in the state's criminal pattern of conduct, where the elements of monitoring are simultaneously executed with a population that is sharing in the criminal elements of monitoring. It's demonic activity. It's the evidence of, number one, demon possession, and it is also the evidence of the intent of that population to act with the government that's already prosecuted. The state of California is already proven to be gang stalking, and the government is exhibiting mental illness while they're still gang stalking, and they are aware of the evidence on the internet. There's no controversy, there's no mystery, there's no reasonable question. And so is the status of the people of the state. It is the same, it's identical. And their intent to do so is that impossible light activity. It is that fake sun over them where you don't see the police anywhere. You don't see the helicopter. It's not on the top of the building, all right? It surfaces as I document, and this is how you're understanding that conspiracy that exists as well. But this is what the people of the state are doing on behalf and in concert with the government on a ceaseless basis. And the entities stalking amongst the electric light activity that fills. This is a terrorizing environment where the demon-possessed are engaging in conduct that is haunting, that is frightening, that is peculiar, it's weird, it's inexplicable, it's satanic, it's criminal because monitoring is underway by it. It is literally the entity that engages in stalking with light. This is how you're monitoring, and it's very foolish with regard to evidence because it's literally the evidence. Is there a question? Where's the engineer light as you're understanding the crime of criminal monitoring on communication devices and surveillance? Where's the evidence of the engineer light? It's in a wealth of documentation at Starbucks, and that's literally how they have provided an admission against themselves. But like I said, this is the signature of gang stalking. The chair is dragged as I put my hand up in the air right now. These are demons that are stalking me. And Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, Tabitha, and every other employee at Starbucks are engaging in the pattern of conduct. And this is documentation of their harassment, of their psychological torture. That's a federal offense with the government, engaging in psychological torture, engaging in the perpetual sex offense, because Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, and Tabitha, and every other employee at this venue, they are all engaged in the sex offense of monitoring, stalking me and my vagina in this bathroom inside of this venue where you see the direct evidence of criminal surveillance. They're also keeping my vagina under surveillance, and they will be prosecuted as violent sex offenders, gang stalking, as the company Starbucks that is acting with the state of California in the criminal pattern of conduct. And that's how directly relevant that evidence is, and it's also relevant to what is unprecedented damages with regard to the psychological harm regarding the government that's targeting you, the government that's demon-possessed and targeting you, the government that's employing demonic methods of targeting you, and the demon-possessed engaging in it, and their behavior is not normal. It's even more disturbing when they're engaging in their pattern of conduct, contrary to what the entity sought to appear as. The entity sought to appear as normal, and like they're not even aware of the target individual, like everything, nothing to see here. This is what it's supposed to appear at, but it looks very creepy when you're looking at the pattern of conduct. You're looking at the light activity. There's nothing normal about Tabitha's behavior. There's nothing normal about Catherine and Mayo's behavior. Catherine is on video ignoring me. I have to raise my voice to get her attention. This is a demon, and she's monitoring me. everything that she's doing when she moves her person, she's a demon who's monitoring me. That's psychopathic, and that's getting to the substance of the thing, and nobody is missing that. It is the identity that the demon-possessed that are delusional, that are maintaining the only act that they had. This is the only thing that they planned. This is the only way that they can engage in that P.O.C. and never plan for scrutiny, never plan for analysis, never plan for reasoning, never plan for laws to prosecute it, never plan for ability to prove it and prosecute them with their own conduct. They never plan for any of that. They're demons. They're not applying intellect. They're stalking. They're monitoring. This is not requiring brain work. This is impulsive with regard to the demon-possessed, the living dead. And it is criminal conduct, and it's not impervious to prosecution. So again, the third parties, Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince. Remember, Vince is under the fake scent at 11:08 a.m. with the Ontario Police engaging criminal summoning in the parking lot. It's 3:33 p.m. and the fake scent is still over this venue. This is how you're very easily prosecuted. They're already subject to a prosecution. I'm prosecuting based on the level of inhumanity that the ordinary targeted individual, any American citizen, has a right to not be subject to, and it shall be appreciated. It's going to be appreciated. All right. This is an entity that's accosting you with light, blinding you with light. They do this when I'm driving my vehicle with the intent to cause substantial harm, if not death, while I'm driving a car. And you're blinding me, touching me, accosting me with this light floating in the air while you're passing me by on the freeway. Absolutely, like, ridiculous methods of stalking. It's entirely demonic. They're demons. And it's the direct evidence of them stalking. All right? It's 3:33 p.m. Hi, Tracy.
Some pants.
Why?
You asked for some pants.
Oh, you got pants now? I thought you weren't gonna get this. This is P.O.C.
I didn't say.
All right, Tracy Banks engaged in the pattern of conduct with Starbucks. Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, Tabitha. The entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct is monitoring while Tracy Banks walks into the venue. I'm not telling her where I'm at. She's always walking into the venue. She did this, by the way, in the middle of San Bernardino in 2019 after the Ontario Police Department that she is gang stalking me with stole my vehicle. And I'm in San Bernardino, California, never calling her, did not ask her to come. And she walks into the San Bernardino McDonald's off of 2nd Street because she is engaged in criminal surveillance. She's a psychopath. She walks in while I'm documenting the fact that Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, and Tabitha are subject to federal prison and trying to engage in what is a distraction, coming and bearing gifts that I didn't ask her for. And she's not actually interested in helping. It's all the elements of monitoring. And she's always engaging in what is a high school graduate's method of trying to insult me when you're stalking me. If I were actually the failure, then you would not be monitoring me. You would not be trying to have sex with people that I formerly befriended. You wouldn't be stalking the people that I used to hang out with in order to recruit them to target me. You wouldn't be lying to the police about things that I never committed. This is somebody that has never sat in a college course, but yet she's trying to insult me when she's coming and monitoring me to be a distraction, because I'm talking about what is not going to be distracted from. The fact that Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, Tabitha, and every other third party at Starbucks are sharing in the audible activity of Tracy Banks, who's present under the 3:33 p.m. fake sun, where she was present this morning at 9:59 a.m. And that's the evidence that's going to put Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, Tabitha, and every other third party at Starbucks in federal prison while they're harassing with this entity that doesn't know how to watch her mouth, because she's a frustrated elderly woman who's being surrounded with evidence because she sought to maintain a criminally procured conservatorship over somebody that is prosecuting her. And there is no reconciling that evidence, why you even had it in the first place, and who gave it to you. It's the same entity that's gang stalking with her. She enters into the venue with knowledge of what I'm documenting, and it's not a distraction, and everything coming out of her face is shared harassment with these gang stalkers inside of Starbucks who are molesting with impossible light. And it's relevant, again, to the entity's real-time engagement and surveillance, and resorting to what are, again, this is somebody that is literally, Tracy Banks is a low life. She engages in gossip and sexual activity with regard to trying to manipulate her way in life. And this is somebody that is walking in at 3:33 p.m. and assuming where I'm at. She's not assuming, she knows where I'm at because the specific environment, and she's a demon engaged in surveillance with all of these entities who also know where I'm at while they are stalking with impossible light inside of this venue. She is doing so. You'll see her crossing path walking on the sidewalk. Her license 9HUZ740. She's crossing path, and it's an ongoing incriminating act with the rest of the people of the state, including the Ontario Police, who are going to be disbanded. She is coming and referring to things that on one day she's going to do, which I don't ask her for, and then the next day she's giving me Something else, for example, she gave me a hat, which I asked for, while she's arriving out of nowhere and asking me, do I want anything? And I'm not asking her. And remember, this is not generosity. This is somebody that's monitoring. And so if the best way that she can get me to converse with her after she lied to the police about what happened inside of her apartment, and me being a civil person, maintaining my composure and documenting her at every encounter, just documenting the fact, oh, she's arriving and she wants to bear gifts. She wants to put money on my gift card while she's pacing inside of the Starbucks. She's monitoring. It's not less of a threat. And this is how she's able to come into my presence in order to engage in the pattern of conduct. And she also does so every time I engage in damning documentation. When I get to a particularly crucial aspect, like I am documenting the employees of Starbucks with regard to federal prison, which, by the way, they didn't have to engage in this ongoing accosting with impossible light. They're already subject to federal prison. I've documented a plethora of times the Ontario police gang stalking me inside of this venue while they are present. While the Ontario police are crossing path on Euclid Avenue and you are witnessing and experiencing that, they are gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department, federal prison. They're engaged in criminal summoning with the Ontario Police Department in the parking lot, federal prison. The entity is falling over my head at the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, federal prison for the people of the state. They're engaged in the ongoing admission that they're gang stalking while that phenomenon of impossible light flies all about inside of the venue. And the entity is engaging in this, and Tracy Banks is the entity that enters in with regard to who else is going to come up and just start a conversation. This is how the entity utilizes Tracy Banks. And how does Tracy Banks want to engage in communication with me? Because she's not, what else is she going to talk to me about other than, hey, do you want this? Do you want that? Because my question is always, what are you doing here? Because how do you know that I'm here? The issue is always that she is a gang stalker. How do you know where in Ontario that I'm at? She knows where I'm at because she's monitoring. All right, but this is the demon that is engaging what she frequents Starbucks, and that's exactly what she would state. But she goes through the drive-through, and now that I am sitting in Starbucks, she doesn't go in the drive-through anymore. She enters in. Oh, there you are. Oh, there you are. This is a psychopath who is gang stalking under the fake sun, whose name I know, and so is every other demon inside of this venue, who also are aware of who I am because of the fake sun and the impossible light activity and the Ontario Police Department's gang stalking. The entity is engaging in a very highly unintelligent method of what is a distraction. It's not a distraction, and it ties right into what Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, Tabitha, and every other third party at Starbucks are engaging in with Tracy Banks, who was present twice today under the 9:59 a.m. fake sun, and what is right now the fake sun that's remaining over the same address while they're gang stalking together. And Tracy Banks is always referring to that which, this is what I want to speak to. This is a demon that engages in, this is what the entity seeks to engage. This is audible activity, it's monitoring. But I just want to point out what is laughable about this person that lacks any advanced education, experience in anything except for sexual activity. This is how she's engaged in a sexual relationship with somebody like Jason Isaac Fields, who's younger than her. All right, so this is somebody that is resorting to insults when she is stalking me. And my socioeconomic status is based on the fact that the entity is gang stalking me. For example, at work at Alvarado Gardens. And this is also speaking to the very surface level of Tracy Banks' motives in coming in. She is on the one hand coming in, yielding gifts that I did not ask her for. When she's arriving, when I didn't tell her where I'm at, and she's doing so while I'm in the midst of documenting very damning evidence. And she immediately jumps to what is trying to engage in insulting. Oh, I told you that I was going to get this. What did you forget? No, I don't forget anything. I'm engaged in an ongoing long-term documentation regarding, necessitating that I maintain a long-term memory regarding the entity's ongoing engagement in that pattern of conduct. Not that you have to explain yourself to anyone, but this is what the audible activity of this demon that's always trying, the purpose of that is always criminal defamation. But this is a high school graduate who relies on sexual activity with anybody in order to manipulate her way. This is how you procure what is a secret conservatorship over somebody like myself who is a legal practitioner, practiced in the law, well-versed in the law. And the entity is gang stalking someone of my stature, and that is evidence of the entity targeting. It's not evidence of any sort of inability to take care of oneself. While the entity is targeting at work, while I am gainfully employed in Los Angeles, and while I am documenting, which is evidence that the entity stole, the LAPD gang stalking when I am working for Michael Bialis, the law office of Michael Bialis, this is all evidence of the entity targeting me while I'm in the workplace, while I'm on the job, while I'm gainfully employed, employment that Tracy Banks did not aid in, employment that Tracy Banks can't qualify for, employment that Tracy Banks has nothing to do with, while this third party with nothing but a high school graduate and is engaged in what is nothing but defamation, and this is secretive defamation behind my back with other people also that are relying on that, like the Ontario Police Department, where they are targeting together. And these are the tactics of the entity that is relying on criminal defamation. So stating things that are clearly untrue and also nonsensical when she's showing up out of nowhere, and I am always like, what are you doing here? Because we are not best friends, so why are you here? You're always arriving and you want to be welcome because, oh, here, you want this gift card? Oh, here, do you want this? Do you want that? Okay, well, first of all, why are you here? What are you doing here? Okay, now if I'm calling you and I'm saying, Tracy, can you help me? I cannot figure this out. I mean, I need you to help me figure out where can I go wash my hands. I don't know where I can go to brush my teeth. I can't really function, and I'm not really sure. Tracy Banks doesn't have that, and she's gang stalking me with regard to following me around as she arrives at Starbucks. And never mind the fact that, remember, it's the entity that's employed at this venue. You're stalking while the fake sun is over this venue. It's not about the fact that you know where Starbucks is and you worked here before I arrived. The fake sun is here and you are stalking. And it's the same thing with regard to where you reside. Tracy Banks is gang stalking in her apartment, where the entity is now remaining over Starbucks and not her apartment, speaking to her criminal engagement in that pattern of conduct. She is the one that is forgetting the fact that she is being documented. She's the one that is necessarily disregarding that and also referring to that evidence that she wants to on one day acknowledge and another speak of like she's ignorant about it because she's forgetful, and she's a liar, and she's engaging in what is resorting to insulting tactics while she's monitoring with that audible activity. This is somebody that is under all circumstances seeking to try to engage in what is triggering conduct while she's engaging in the pattern of conduct with the people of the state. All right, she's doing so while the population is pacing in and out of the venue, and she's arriving pursuant to my documenting the entity that is gang stalking, the entity that is gang stalking under the idol fake sun as well. Tracy Banks' ongoing audible activity, which is nothing short of what is trying to engage in what is insulting somebody that is prosecuting an entire government, including her, where she is going to federal prison for the mental illness that she has closeted for her life while she's engaged in things such as conspiring my murder and trying to steal property that belongs to me. And that's what she's forgetting to address when she's trying to refer to things that are not true. Like, I don't remember when we never talked about her arriving and bringing me anything today. Okay, she's a liar and she lies in my face. And I want to document this because this is relevant to the entity that is engaged in ongoing lying while monitoring me with the Starbucks personnel and monitoring me with the population that is under the fake sun at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where Tracy Banks is arriving today at 9:59 a.m. Again, coming into my presence and engaging in what is very short-term memory. She will stalk again, arrive in the specific environment, license 8S18444, molesting with impossible light while I'm inside of this venue. In doing so, Tracy Banks will engage in what is this harassment and seeking to engage in what is, on the one hand, this is again, the shallow basis of what is offering gifts when she's gang stalking. She's coming in and arriving when I'm not seeking her out, not soliciting her presence, not asking her for anything. And then she is stating, oh, I said that I was going to go get you this. What, did you forget? She is always referring to something that I have forgotten when I don't forget anything. And there was no appointment set today. And there is also no forgetfulness regarding the specific environment where she is arriving while I'm engaged in documentation. And she's not helping the people of the state. She's not helping the government. She's engaged in monitoring in concert with them and resorting to insults of that manner, which is not actually insulting. She's a third party who was obsessed with my genitalia, engaged in the incestuous sex offense of monitoring my vagina with the rest of the people of the state and the state. She's engaged in what is resorting to that nonetheless because it's relevant to the effort, the failed effort. You don't engage in what is insults to establish mental illness. And this is somebody that's engaging in that because there is no mental illness on my behalf, on my part. She's resorting to such harassment while immediately acknowledging the fact that I am outside while she engaged in an unlawful eviction that I documented on video. And she's resorting to that because she is relying on what is a criminal means of having a secret conservatorship, which is a criminal act committed by the government and her, and using that as a means to refer to my being unlawfully evicted from her apartment following being gang stalked on the job. That's the only reason why I'm at her apartment. okay? And it's not like I'm at her apartment and I'm safe there. She's targeting, and that's why I've been documenting. So my documentation is showing the ongoing P.O.C. and the fact that I'm not forgetful of anything, and that I've been engaging in documenting her while she's been maintaining the purpose of establishing that which does not exist, and engaging in resorting to insults, resorting to the socioeconomic status that the state created by targeting is not creating mental illness. This is Tracy Banks that's engaging in entering the venue under the fake sun, and that's what the bottom line is. She's in a specific environment relying on insults that do not make any sort of impact, because she's stalking me. So anybody that's stalking you, there's no insults that they have against you. They're obsessed with you. And this is, again, a demon that's actually spiritually obsessed with me, spiritually monitoring me, and is also physically stalking while she's gang stalking at the venue with all of the government. That's how important I am. This is contrary to what Tracy Banks exhibits while she is her audible activity, her speech that comes out of this hateful, this envious demon's mouth is that which is speaking to the exact opposite, but her actions are what is proving her obsession and her criminal desire to steal property that belongs to me, that she's also envious that doesn't belong to her, okay? So I want to make sure that that is clear, and it is all audible activity while the Starbucks, the establishment, the corporation, and Starbucks employees are monitoring to that harassing speech with the intent to criminally defame. That's why I'm expounding upon it. That's why I'm speaking to it. She enters in monitoring, and she's entering in then resorting to insults as to why she showed up when I didn't ask her and did not tell her where I'm at. And that's a pattern that she engages in. Or like I stated, coming from Ontario, when October 1st, the entity stole my vehicle, Ontario Police Department, and it's on podcast on October 3rd, where the San Bernardino Police Department are engaging in exactly what you heard the Ontario Police Department engaging in last night, flying in circles over my head by helicopter, which is a pattern of conduct by the law enforcement agencies that are gang stalking me, just like the Los Angeles Police Department is doing in LA, where I'm working, gainfully employed, but the entity is interfering with my liberty right to be free from terrorism and psychological torture, like Starbucks is engaging in, but while I'm on the job, and a population is gang stalking me at work, which is not merely rumor or unsupported commentary that I'm giving on my podcast. It's documentation, it's evidence that's sitting on the record, while again, this demon, Tracy Banks, is necessarily disregarding that. She cannot rely on facts. She cannot address facts. She has not addressed the conservatorship while she wants to resort to insults, because that's her only basis of establishing mental illness, which does not establish mental illness and is not evidence of mental illness. But this is what I want to speak to. This is what the entity is relying on, and she represents the entity. This is somebody that is in every regard defeated and inferior intellectually, spiritually, personally, socially. I just want to be clear, she is in every regard inferior. That's why she's gang stalking. And that's also why she resorts to such tactics. She comes into the Starbucks stalking me and relies on insults when I ask her, what are you doing here? Because she should not know where I'm at. She should not be able to walk into the Starbucks and come right up to me like she already anticipated. We didn't set up a schedule today, a meeting. She lied on me to the police about what happened inside of her apartment, which the police know exactly what happened in her apartment, because like my evidence shows that this demon is intentionally and necessarily disregarding. Okay, because she can't maintain a narrative about being mentally ill, which is this is hollow, vacuous, meaningless, defamatory speech, because it has no substance. She's merely engaging in gossip. She's merely engaging in what is just being a liar, because it has no merit. There's nothing about my history either that's establishing mental illness, but for the entity, like I documented, engaging in criminal defamation upon kidnapping. All right, so the entity is engaging in this, and this is Tracy Banks who is engaging. I want to make sure that I expound upon that because it's relevant to her secret conservatorship, which she has yet to admit. She's going to federal prison for it. It's sought to steal property from me and her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, as well. Somebody that she's not admitted to having a sexual relationship with, who has a secret marriage with me, because the entity sought to steal my property and thought that they were going to accomplish it by gang stalking me with the entity, including Starbucks, where strangers meet together and target you in the ways in which I'm documenting on video, so that people like Catherine go to federal prison where they belong, helping the government, helping terrorists and sex offenders and psychopaths like Tracy Banks steal from me, defame me, but for evidence of the P.O.C. Okay, so this is speaking to who is the actually mentally ill person, and it is the entity that's gang stalking, not just Tracy Banks. You are mentally ill when you're getting in commercial planes to stalk one person, to stalk, period. You are mentally ill when you're getting in helicopters to stalk anybody, let alone a woman, let alone one person. You are mentally ill when you are stalking by the maintenance of light that's flying in the air and all over the ceilings in a way that is irreconcilable, something that NASA has never spoken about. There's no way to reconcile how that's happened. You're mentally ill. And it's not a secret. And the demon-possessed are always projecting, and that's what's coming out of the face of Tracy Banks. She's inside of the venue where Impossible Light is present. She's in the venue where the fake sun remains, where she was, by the way, at 9:59 monitoring me. And she is engaging in what is harassment through her harassing speech with the people of the state. And that is, again, the entity that lacks actual mental illness with regard to supporting a secret conservatorship that the government violates the law in permitting her to have, and in violation of the law in its creation and in the intent to steal property, which the government is invested in. That's why the government is gang stalking me. All right. It's currently 3:53 p.m. This is P.O.C. at the Starbucks, and this is directly relevant to what it is that I was discussing, and it's not a distraction. The entity is maintaining this engineer light, and Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, Tabitha, and every other employee are speaking as one entity. They are acting as one entity. They are in the specific environment and they are acting together, and it is the evidence of the intent to do so based on that supernatural character, okay? The entity has impossible light floating across the wall adjacent to the drive-through window at 3:53 p.m. That is Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, Tabitha, and every other employee that's in the venue right now engaging in gang stalking with the intent to do so, the intent to harass and terrorize, not only because they're gang stalking, period, but because they're gang stalking me when they are monitoring the evidence. They're monitoring the evidence, i.e. federal stalking, is what is relevant to the federal stalking conduct of impossible light flying and moving all about my person, okay? The entity is subject to federal prison because it's criminal conduct of the government, the Ontario Police Department. Demons like Corporal Tembuski are going to federal prison for it, all right? They're monitoring with the unintelligent demons that rely on insults, and that's how they establish, through gossip, through defamation, through rumors, and then through the corrupt acts of adjudicating in courthouses that are engaging in this pattern of chronic targeting American citizens. That's how they establish mental illness. And the P.O.C. is speaking to changing the laws and also putting in federal prison domestic terrorists that are engaging in targeting American citizens like this. Who in the way in which I'm showing. All right, so this is P.O.C. It's currently 3:54 p.m. and that is Tracy Banks resorting to insults and also referring to what is an admitted state that I am in, that the entity is the cause of, precipitating directly from her gang stalking me. And a delusional psychopath tells themselves that they are better than the person that they're gang stalking. That is literally the spirit of Satan telling the 62-year-old woman that is stalking her daughter that she wants to be. She's obsessed with my genitalia. She's obsessed with me. She's obsessed with my abilities and my skill set. She's obsessed with my ability to maintain integrity and not compromise. She's obsessed with my ability to stand up before her and the government that's targeting. She's envious of all of that while she's engaging in it against me. And resorting in insults is unpersuasive, okay? This is a psychopath, and you've seen her, you've listened to her gang stalking me in her apartment. She's in Starbucks engaging in that, incriminating all the other third parties, incriminating the state. She's going to federal prison, and everybody gang stalking with the Ontario police, like Starbucks personnel are doing. It's not going to be different with regard to the law. You engage in you violate the law in certain ways, you're going to federal prison, and they've already satisfied that. It is currently 3:55 p.m. where the entity is monitoring and harassing with Tracy Banks. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, the specific environment remains while the people of the state are pacing. These are demons pacing under the fake sun that has remained over the same street for their gang stalking purposes with intent and knowledge pursuant to a pattern of conduct shared by the state of California. And it's been present since 8, and I'm capturing images of it right now at 3:57 p.m. And the entity is stalking with impossible light. And this is the venue where the Tracy Banks enters in, engaging in what is defamatory speech. And it's, again, it's relevant to the intent to defame. You can't remember? Clearly, I'm documenting for years. I remember a lot. I remember what this demon can't remember what she said that was damning, and she can't even appreciate how it is damning to her and her interests while the entity is gang stalking me in 67 additional videos since she committed kidnapping with the Ontario police. Her inability to appreciate that and everything that comes out of her mouth while she's talking about forgetfulness, and she forgets that there was no appointment today. There was no schedule. I did not tell her where she's at. The entity where I'm at, and the entity is Tracy Banks, is entering in with specific knowledge about exactly where I'm at, and is doing so pursuant to what is the specific environment, the fact that she's a gang stalker and she's a psychopath resorting to insults, which is relevant to criminal defamation. That's what you're getting to, but that doesn't establish mental illness, but that's the pattern of conduct. I want to document the people of the state that are gang stalking. License plate 9SAL007 8PEK 537. Stalking, they're molesting with impossible light activities 7MBL177 8XZ003. They're stalking with impossible light, which again, Seth, Catherine, Basile, vents. The third parties inside of Starbucks are sharing in that ongoing molestation and harassment with impossible light, and doing so with intent. And this is the pattern of conduct. This is what they're doing inside of Tracy Banks' apartment. They walk on the sidewalk outside of the apartment, and somehow their shadows appear behind them inside of her living room on the living room wall where I'm looking at that wall. That's terrorism with impossible light. It's the same P.O.C. It's very idiotic. It's obvious. And it's also supernatural. That's the intent of the people to engage in that. That supernatural character of that evidence, that is the evidence of intent to gang stalk. So the entity is surrounded with evidence, and this is what Tracy Banks forgets while she resorts to trying to and failing at some reference to my memory, which is long. My memory is excellent with regard to evidence and the ability to recall what the entity is doing and how I'm able to point out the patterns to you so that you can recognize it as well, because I'm going to prosecute and I have to have an extensive memory in order to do so, in order to document, in order to maintain a consistent body of evidence. I have to have an extensive and excellent memory. But this is, like I said, this is a demon, and this is somebody that is envious. She wants to be me, and this is somebody that has engaged in what is fraud, trying to maintain my identity. And she looks nothing like me. She's a 60-year-old midget with fake breasts, wrinkles, cellulite, no, not the same body type, nothing whatsoever. She doesn't have the hair length, nothing alike, okay? But I want to be clear, she's engaged in what is stealing my identity. She wants to be me. These are things that she forgets to discuss while she wants to engage in what is failed attempts at insulting me. And this is why she's going to federal prison. The entity is very much focused on the temporary, and her audible activity is accomplishing monitoring. And her audible activity is that which is shared by the entity that is gang stalking together. So when the entity is gang stalking you, what the entity says, all of them say. And so when the entity is engaging with its physical violence, they're all going to federal prison while they're in relevant position and that physical violence is underway. When the entity is engaged in criminal defamation, that's relevant to kidnapping, and they're all going to federal prison with regard to everybody in relevant position that's engaging in what is monitoring, while criminal defamation is the means of audible activity. It's automatically published because they're monitoring. And it's the same with regard to harassment, psychological torture. They're acting as an entity. So, like I said, gang stalking with the police, everybody in relevant position is subject to federal prison. And that includes the employees that are here at Starbucks. So the Ontario Police crossing path again at 4 p.m. under that fake sun that I just captured at 3:57 p.m. The entity keeping the fake sun over the same venue where Tracy Banks is resorting to harassment because she lacks any substance regarding mental illness over myself, a college graduate, a law school graduate, a gainfully employed property manager, and attorney before I stopped paying my fees because I was being targeted at work. And being targeted is no evidence of mental illness. The entity is going to be prosecuted for the conspiracy, which I've proven through the P.O.C. Gang stalking is pursuant to the conspiracy to murder and kidnap, and the entity wants to steal property from me, and this is why the entity also procured through fraud, a secret marriage to me, and also a secret conservatorship over me, and totally violating the laws in maintaining and having, even acquiring some conservatorship, which Tracy Banks has forgotten to address, forgotten to mention that as well. And this is somebody that fails in trying to insult me, especially when you're gang stalking me and monitoring my vagina. All right, it is currently 4:02 p.m. And the people of the state that are gang stalking, I want to document their license plates right now under that fake sun. License 9DYE030. License 7JRP782, license 7ZIS161, license 9RTU107, license 6PXB917, license 97758K2, license 9HAD018, license 8FNC731, and license 6PXB917, in case I didn't read that one. License 8VHP150. License 8PEK537, in case I did not read that one. And the entity you will see on the wall of the drive-through area where Catherine and Seth and Basio and Vince, Harley, Mayo, and Tabitha, the employees are pacing. They're monitoring while impossible light activity is plastered on the drive-through. Where the drive-thru window is located, which has an extensive cover over the top of it, Ontario Police crossing path with all of these employees. That's federal prisons, 4:04 p.m. The entity is engaging in what is maintaining impossible light. You'll see it on the wall adjacent to the drive-thru window. Sunlight is not coming underneath that extensive cover they have on the outside of the drive-thru window, and that's for shade. This is, again, the gymnastic with impossible light activity is the intent to engage in monitoring, and the intent to do so with the intent to obstruct justice, while the Ontario Police cross path while they're all listening to me document. And this is what Tracy Banks is relying on. She comes in and we're trying to exchange petty insults while she is the one wearing the outfit and looking as ridiculous as she does at her age, living the life that she lives at her age, and gang stalking her own daughter. Well, then she's trying to insult me when you're stalking me. And the facts are what prove that, while she relies on what is the temporary circumstances where she has yet to be seated in a court and surrounded with evidence where her and the Ontario Police are going to be prosecuted, far beyond the Ontario Police, but they're going to be prosecuted for kidnapping, amongst other things. Relying on the temporary right now, where she's relying on what the audience is listening to her say while she's monitoring, that's a psychopath that's going to prison, okay? The entity is gang stalking, and that's intent to do so, while impossible light you'll see on the wall adjacent to the drive-thru window, and that is at 3:56 p.m. And remember, the fake sun is over the sidewalk as I stand at the front entrance of 507. The drive-thru window is at the back portion of the building with an extensive cover over the hood of that drive-thru window, and there is no vantage point where that's ever happening. That wouldn't even happen if all of the customers are holding up flashlights while they're buying their drinks from Catherine and Seth Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, and Tabitha. The entity is not engaging in anything other than criminal monitoring, and the direct evidence of it is that impossible light, and they are subject to federal prison. The Ontario Police communicating an ongoing perpetual threat, which again, Catherine, Seth Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, and Tabitha, they are demonstrating impunity and malice, and they do not regard going to federal prison, and that's exactly where they belong, while they are threatening, along with Tracy Banks, criminally defaming and harassing me, and with the Ontario Police Department, and with that impossible light activity, the maintenance of the fake sun, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to make sure that that's clear. They're not even fazed by going to federal prison, because that's where they're going. This is exactly where any American citizen is going when you're engaged in this level of facilitation and cooperative conduct with a corrupt police department that commits kidnappings in order to establish mental illness when they're gang stalking you. You go to federal prison for that. It's currently 4:06 p.m. This is P.O.C. at 507 North Euclid Avenue. This is the Starbucks where the fake sun is remaining over the venue, and the mentally ill are pacing in and out of bathrooms coming off of the street in order to share in the gang stalking conduct that Starbucks is engaging in on behalf of the state. P.O.C. All right, I want to be clear. Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, Tabitha, and Starbucks, the corporation as well, that I'll be suing. The Ontario Police Department, the people of the state of California, molesting my breast with impossible light activity, and that is committed by the third parties whose license plate you just listened to. They are sharing in that, while I specifically identify some of that population, but the entity is engaging in a sex offense, molesting my breast while I'm sitting inside of the cafe, and doing so with what is impossible light activity, while the people of the state are stalking in the path monitoring to that sexually violent means of molestation, a demon pacing in the bathroom, using the air dryer while that demonic synchronicity, the air dryer sounds while I'm being molested on my breast, sitting inside of the cafe with impossible light because the demons are monitoring. And that includes, again, the sex offenders, Catherine, Seth, Basile, Vince, Harley, Mayo, and Tabitha, molesting my breast with impossible light while they are monitoring me. And I don't welcome their molesting me with impossible light while they're obsessively gang stalking me while they're on the job. And I don't appreciate and I don't welcome also, and I'm going to prosecute the corporation Starbucks as well for this. This is all recognizing the federal offenses inherent to gang stalking, criminal monitoring, surveillance on communication devices, and all the ways in which you're going to enforce your rights pursuant to that. This molestation happening at 4:08 p.m. and the people of the state are pacing in and out of the cafe while that sex offense is underway and they're gang stalking. This is mental illness exhibited by the demon-possessed entity. This is P.O.C. Seven KTR 789, 7 NWS 687, 6XAU 905, 9 MCC 247, 9 PLB 676. 8 YJZ 439. This is the people of the state gang stalking at Starbucks, engaging in terrorism with impossible light activity, where they're monitoring with the Ontario Police Department, with the City of Ontario, and with the gang stalking, the sex offenders that are stalking inside of the restaurant, the cafe. This is P.O.C. It's currently 6:03 p.m. The fake sun remains over the same building. It's what I just captured images of. You'll see that on the Google Drive. P.O.C. All right, as I return back into the cafe, ongoing surveillance with regard to demons that are tracking my every move and surrounding inside of the cafe, which is psychopathic stalking occurring on the inside of the building where the fake sun is remaining over the same exact roof. This is the illusion with regard to the shadow of the building, which is flat on the ground and it extends farther across Euclid Avenue. They're all driving an engineer light. And engineer light is moving all inside of the venue while the entity is molesting me. This is harassment and terrorism and a sex offense that the entity and Starbucks, the corporation, is committing while I am being obviously gang stalked in that specific environment, and a bunch of sex offenders are sitting around engaging in it and watching it. This is voyeurism while engaging in the pattern of conduct. This is the mental illness exhibited by the entity that is stalking with light. Also, while they sit under a fake sun, their mental illness is exhibited. Bacio is stalking in the bathroom and doing so pursuant to my uploading the images. So they get in position while I walk outside to capture those images. They get in position with regard to the traffic lights as I get up out of my seat in the venue. They are crossing path with impossible light under that fake sun. As they are anticipating my documentation, they're monitoring the use of my device. The entity is stalking as I enter in, and the entity is engaged in what is present inside of the venue and surrounding by the very depraved, demented, degenerate conduct of hiding in a bathroom, stalking in order to cross path and make sure that they're present as I engage in then uploading those images. And this is where you see the third party come out. There's only one stall in the men's restroom, so these males are all huddled in a small bathroom in order to stalk me together. They're doing so pursuant to federal stalking nonetheless, and this is the conduct that the Ontario Police Department, this demented and demonic behavior, which is criminal. This is why they're being disbanded while they engage in these embarrassing and psychopathic tactics of stalking me together. This is the entity that is crossing path out of the bathroom, and remaining inside of the bathroom is Bacio, crossing path after I finish uploading. You will see him walking by, and the impossible light is on the ceiling on the inside of the Starbucks, where they are all pacing at that drive-through window, and the fake sun is in the position over the front of the entrance. And there's no position of the fake sun that ever causes the impossible light that floats inside of this inside of this building. There's no position of the fake sun where inside of my bedroom in Los Angeles is there going to be any sunlight on my ceiling where I have the flashing of light, where I'm documenting the same P.O.C, the same signature, in other words, for criminal monitoring by a bunch of demons who are sex offenders and obsessively stalking me. And that specific signature is both the fake sun and the engineered light that is in absurd locations in order to clearly and conclusively be prosecuted for gang stalking with the government. And psychopaths continuously engage in it as a community while they are proven to be engaging in that which they thought was so high class and classified that no one would ever know. So the entity is engaging in what is demented, perverted, also malicious, and it's also entirely psychopathic. This is P.O.C. It's currently 6:10 p.m. The purpose of capturing those images, remember the entity is keeping the fake sun as I'm exiting 215 E.C. Street at the Ovid Family Community Library, where demons and stalkers are hiding in the bathroom to engage in crossing a path. They're pacing in and out, stalking under the fake sun that's not at the same time over the Ovid Family Community Library, as I documented, for example, June 20th, upon my departure of the Ovid Family Community Library, where the entity engaged in the same pattern of conduct, keeping the fake sun over the venue. Okay, another third party entering into the bathroom. Let me give you the license plate. This is the female entering into the women's restroom, engaging in federal stalking, leaving the hazard lights on as well. It's currently 6:10 p.m. And this is what Vince, the CEO, they're sharing in this psychotic behavior, stalking. And another demon coming to aid in while I walk outside. License 9P DW866, gang stalking with the sex offender that goes inside of the women's restroom, monitoring me. And coming and meeting me as I walk outside is 9RKR685. This is P.O.C. This is, again, the surrounding conduct. That's a threat to your life. The Ontario Police is being disbanded for this level of stalking by the people of the state, and they are outwardly demonstrating severe mental illness while they're stalking together as a group. It is currently 6:11 p.m. in the fake sun over this Starbucks, where the stalking, as I'm narrating in real time, is underway. The entity is keeping the fake sun on June 20th, just as one example, because I went to the Ovid Family Library several times this week, and the entity kept it over that entrance while I'm documenting the entity gang stalking at that library where the fake sun remains upon my exit. and that is not going to be over the roof of 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the entity is engaging in what is pacing inside of the building, stalking and monitoring. Just stopping by at the Starbucks, picking up a drink, not necessarily picking up a drink, maybe, perhaps not. They're going into the restroom with regard to crossing path. This is P.O.C. All right, the employee, the redhead, you'll see crossing path at 6:13 p.m. She's engaging in the same thing Basi was doing, going into the bathroom in anticipation of uploading the evidence, stalking in the path the moment that I upload it, walking out. These are demons that are aware of what you're doing on your device. They're monitoring inside of the Starbucks while they are on the job. They are subject to federal prison. They're gang stalking on behalf of the police, with the police, and they're engaging in this under the fake sun in the engineer light with the population that's engaging in the same sick behavior, going into bathrooms in order to engage in stalking and surveillance. They're doing so also on communication device. This is Title 18 federal stalking. All of the employees are sharing in that. So this is, again, demonic pacing that's happening inside of the cafe, into the bathrooms, out of the venue, parking on outside, like the demons are, like I'm documenting. They're meeting in the path, just coming in and picking up a drink is the guise whereby they're engaging in the same exact elements of monitoring. This is P.O.C. It's the demons that are surrounding. They're surrounding everywhere that I'm walking, every direction that I go, and maintaining lying in wait conduct, very sick lying in wait conduct in the bathrooms inside of the Starbucks. This is terrorism that Starbucks is going to be prosecuted for. The corporation is going to be prosecuted. I'm going to prosecute the company, and I'm going to prosecute the demons that are working at the venue. It is currently 6:15 p.m. The entity engaged in ongoing stalking under the fake sun that is not over the Ovid Family Community Library like it is when I'm at that venue, which is south of Starbucks, and not at the same time maintaining some ubiquitous presence like the sky over everyone everywhere, that it would first of all be on the same street from 8 o'clock until 6:15 p.m. and it would be over either venue, nor both venues at the same time in the matter that I'm documenting it. The entity is stalking, and they are stalking in bathrooms, and this is why the Starbucks employees who are exhibiting severe mental illness, while they're also molesting my person with the sex offenders that are pacing in traffic, which includes the Ontario Police Department, and coming into a venue to engage in stalking. This is what the people of the state of California engage in as their gang stalking in this state. This is the criminal conduct that the Ontario police, who are severely mentally ill, using helicopters to engage in surveillance, using helicopters to engage in what is stalking with activity and stalking with the impossible light with these demons. That's why they're being disbanded, because they also engage in a pattern of documented kidnapping. It is currently 6:16 p.m. This is P.O.C. at 507 North Euclid Avenue. That's hilarious. They run. Third parties running when they are anticipated being documented, and they're the people of the state are gang stalking with the Ontario police. Nobody's escaping anything. License 8TXM 696 is monitoring with the people of the state that are seeking to obstruct justice while acting with the Ontario police, engaging criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And their co-defendant is running like the cowards that they all are, 9SEJ 503, and it's 9:59 p.m. where this same plaza at 130 West G Street is engaging in what is stalking, surveillance in the parking lot, aiming light, while demons are driving out of the parking lot, and I'm being molested while I'm on Laurelwood. That's light activity, engineer light, not their headlights. These are sex offenders sitting in the dark, stalking. 9EQS 843, 6K 43148, 7AQE 522. 9TFS 177, 7LHT 842. Pizza Hut at 715 North Euclid Avenue, stalking with the demon right in front of that restaurant, and 7-Eleven is, 7-Eleven is monitoring, but Pizza Hut is gang stalking too. 9TFS 177, the address is identifying the people of the state. License 9SKB 604, EB9, EB93A94, that's paper, 8WY8094. Um, 63044W1, 8YBD115. And this is all Title 18, and this is what the entity was doing all day in Starbucks. So you're looking at it in a parking lot. This is what they're doing in the cafe. They center their stalking around coffee. 8Y68784, license 9 U.S. 978. They are stalking in the path. They're keeping me surrounded. They're doing it in engineer light and under the fake sun that remained over that venue from 7 to 7 after 7 p.m. License 8FIK000, 9 U.S. 978. Excuse me. It's currently 10:01 p.m. Seven GFZ 425. 8 UVA 426. 8 WTK 159. 9 HYM 444. 8 SMF 476. This is P.O.C. This is the people of state engaging in surveillance. Again, the entity aware of who I am. They're stalking in the path before I get there. This is the significance, for example, of the entity that is the Ontario Police Department leaving a vehicle with the Ontario Police Department logo on it, abandoned. Nobody's in the vehicle. Neither do you have to be to communicate a threat, identifying that police department that is tracking my steps as an entity, evident by the fake sun and the engineer light, and placing a vehicle in my path ahead of me before I get there, as though gang stalking is going to be prosecuted based on chronology. An entity is stalking. They are tracking your steps, following you as you go in real time, and also remaining all around, regardless of what direction, wherever you go. But when you are being monitored, the entity is monitoring everything about your everyday life, what you schedule, what you typically do. And the entity is surrounding at all times, everywhere, in every direction. The entity is gang stalking you while being at a venue, being somewhere before you. Chronology is not precluding a prosecution for gang stalking. These are the unintelligent demons that forget the malice with which they're targeting someone else. They're going to be prosecuted. 8 LPD 612. This is P.O.C. It's currently 10:03 p.m. For RKW 785 65864 F4 8HNC 933 7CEU 067 8LUS 726 10:04 p.m. 53993A4 7MSL 276 AGSPTR 5MVM 616. And these are the people of the state that are at Woodside Senior, parked adjacent to Woodside Senior Apartments and the TABOR Professional Building. It's 10:05 p.m. Stalking with light in front of 636 North Vine Avenue. This is 7-Eleven gang stalking with the patrons, aiming light at the door with regard to touching, with regard to stalking, harassing also. 8YVN760. It's 10:07 p.m. And that is walking through impossible light activity while a demon is parked in the front, and that's a demon in the store working as the employee, making noise, stalking with noise. Hi. Where do you want me to put it? On the side? Okay. Put it on the front. Are you gonna watch it? Are you gonna watch it? No one's gonna touch my bag, right? You sure? Oh, okay. Thank you. This is the entity that's harassing as you document them. It's a method of harassment. 7-Eleven is gang stalking, period. It's the same spirit. They engage in the same tactics. License plate 9GTH442, and he's talking about leaving my bag at the front of the store while he is gang stalking me. The entity is engaging in what is targeting somebody that's not a thief. It's a method of harassment, and it's audible activity. This is 636 North Vine Avenue. The store clerk is on video gang stalking with the Ontario Police and showing himself to be a maniac in doing so as well, while he's stalking with noise engaging in the unhinged behavior of a demon. And the demons are pacing in one after another, the door chime, the crossing path, and the engineer light. They're monitoring inside of a 7-Eleven. This is the satanic pacing that I was describing inside of the Starbucks. This is what they're doing when they follow me from place to place as a demon-possessed entity. This is the living dead that just keep a trail around me, stalking me everywhere, including in bathrooms. It's 10:08 p.m. 8RGE086, 8PBA008, 9GTH442 is the one you see aiming at the opposite end of the 7-Eleven. She's manning the path, making sure that there's light at the opposite end of the store, also at the end where I typically go to find food. This is the entity that's stalking specifically, and so is the Ontario Police right now with RY042 handicap 5ZDD279. 7-Eleven, the corporation, the store, and the third parties in their vehicles, license plate 9AUA666 and license 8TME023, molesting and doing so. Oh no, that's not the Ontario, well, it is the Ontario Police, but it's specifically the Ontario International Airport. Let me get a picture. All right, the sex offender is going out of their way to touch me with light. Looks like 6JPT99. Look at the last license plate. You'll see the image of them. Make a U-turn right in front of me. This is touching with light. It's in the engineer light. It's the state of stalking. This is the pattern of conduct. The entity is always stalking. The entity is always touching. 6JPT993. It's 10:21 p.m. at the TABOR Professional Building in the Ontario International Airport. Gang stalking by helicopter. And figures, since I caught the picture of them gang stalking, trying to make a dip out of sight with a U-turn, they just flew over the TABOR building like they are at every other night. So this is, again, context. This is a sex offender that's touching me with light while they're stalking in the specific environment. It's 10:21 p.m. And as the stalker listens, pursuant to real-time surveillance about what it is that I document, the plane that is sounding right here in front of me is where it takes off, right here in front of me at 325 West G Street. You will see the images on the Google Drive. It's 10:22 p.m. And the entity it's blatant and obvious. There's no taking off from there's no taking off over these houses. There's not even any ground for them to take off from. But you'll see the attempt to engage in what is mimicking an incline over 325 West G Street, which is in perfect alignment with me, where amplified audible activity is underway. The people of the state are pacing. You know what they do. They stalk with light. And so does the entity that is gang stalking with planes and creating noise in that engineer light. This is monitoring. This is the elements of monitoring, and doing so through the very obviously suspicious conduct of rising over 325 West G Street. The terminals at 2500 Airport Drive and 2900 Airport Drive. The entity is engaging in the P.O.C. and the city of Ontario doesn't intend on having any defense or appearing legitimate, like they're not terrorizing American citizens. So that's what they're doing. It's 10:23 p.m. P.O.C.